as I type in the words summoning insight and I control V, that's what I'm doing in my brain with this introduction. But now I'm back. I reasserted control there. I went into autopilot mode. It's all good. Summoning insight's here. And I'm ready to paste something brilliant into the hole that required some pasting, the empty space, the cursor, as it were, that's blinking right now in my brain as I attempt to come up with words and then spit out these little noise vibrations through the air that actually, if you were in the room with me, you would feel literally the vibrations through the air into your eardrum, and you would then be able to interpret what I'm saying. But you're not even in the room with me. So ask me this: how were you able to hear me? Because a robot, essentially, using the internet like a giant tentacle of fucking electric fucking nerves around the world, is doing that to you. A fake version of my voice is hitting your ears, but it's not really me, or is it? Now take one of these pills, Yamato, and whatever. The point is, somebody insights here. We are here. We're back. I'm just in my normal area with the nondescript. Like essentially, if anyone's ever watched that movie, The Accountant, with like fucking Ben Affleck, I've like lived my whole life like that with the OPSEC. Like you never know where I am. I'm just in a nondescript location. I say I live in Netherlands. Give you no more information than that. You have no clue why. Because you know what, Yamato, this is where you have to be really careful, bro. You don't know how important OPSEC is on the internet. You know, I did that whole joke segment at the beginning of the last episode where I was on holiday and I had to go all the way to that LAN cafe. And I did that joking thing like, hey guys, don't try and figure out where I am. You'll never figure it out. And besides, don't worry about it. Immediately in the comments, a guy was like, actually, it's like that geoguessr shit. Like, yeah. Actually, if you look behind him, the brand of chair is only used in a very specific LAN cafe in like Turkey. Like, what are you fucking And you know the worst thing, Yamato? Look, I'm not there anymore, so you can't get me now. That is where I was. So luckily, I wasn't in that exact place where that LAN cafe was anyway. I had to travel there, so it all worked out. But when I saw that comment, I was like, fuck, you know, why and Sheila Boofed? Why are you doing that to me? I'm not the one dividing us. That was Donald Trump and, or in this case, Turkish Esports fans. I didn't divide us. I just want to all stay together and do Summoning Insight. So anyway, we're back for Summoning Insight. We missed the quarters of the semis, but that's not actually our fault. Because the problem now, I think this is where we start, Yamato. You know what, mate? Coming from Counter-Strike, this is how playoffs work in Counter-Strike. You know, you have like every day or two, basically a match to play, because obviously you have like the 2 quarterfinals. Usually you split those up. But aside from that, you play each day of the week in the playoffs. So look, I'm used to that. But I've got to say, I actually found that a bit jarring, how condensed the playoff schedule is, bro. Like, I'm used to having like a whole week for the quarters. Then we have a whole week for the 2 semis. And then we have this big, look, we have the gap finally for the final. But aside from that, everything's been really condensed. Like, basically, if you were these teams that went to the finals, you were playing every 2 days. And here's my problem, right? People might not get this, but in Counter-Strike, if you have 1 day to prep for the opponent, listen, mate, Counter-Strike, you don't change your entire strat book in a day anyway. You would never do that. Like, you have to have time to run it and test it. So most of the time, you all know, it's the same I've heard in like football and American football. Most of you know 80% of what the other guy does. It's like execution and strategy. When does he bring that aspect out? The problem I have is this, Yamato. I know everyone in League is doing that thing like, what the hell? I work for Riot and now I love condensed schedules. Like, because they're all just fucking shameless like that, mate. They all just find a way like, how does what I already get paid for actually fucking rock? Like, that's like the logic in fucking League of Legends. But I have to say, I found this a bit jarring in League itself, though, because I've always seen League as the other type of game. I do think in League, bro, if it's a finals, like, if you're KT, mate, you need a week to prep for T1. You've got to think through all these angles. You've got to probably get a specialist type, like, style of practice. We ask the opponent to mimic something like an MMA or something. What have you thought of this condensed schedule? Have you been vibing with it? Have you liked it? Where are you at on this?
I think that it's like, it's as if Riot listened to feedback and just reached the wrong conclusion. It's like the most painful aspect was just the break between the semis and the finals, because that's where there's just so much empty air. Yeah. But now, like the quarterfinals week was never like a problem. Like if semis and finals was played during the same period, I think that would make a lot more sense in terms of just the spacing of games. But then maybe some would argue that it's a problem for, you know, whoever plays the second semi, because they have less time to prep, which I think is fair. But I did think it was kind of strange that they just slammed everything in the same pocket. I imagine it is a question of just needing to, because like they move their rigs and they move everything, all the equipment.
Yeah, the cities and stuff. Yeah.
Between the cities, and I imagine like in terms of cutting costs, like setting up in one location, because in the past it was like quarters was one location, semis one location, and then finals, of course, the grand location, like the Wimbledon arena or something. And I guess it's just a question of just cutting costs, staying in the same arena. It did feel kind of jarring in terms of like the like a team played and then boom, the next day you have to kind of run it back. Sure, they scheduled it in a way where the final quarterfinals teams played on the later like date in terms of the semis. I wasn't a super big fan of this, honestly. We continue on the topic of the format, right? Because there's been like a big discussion. Like people talk about double elimination versus of course single elimination. It's like I wouldn't mind this single elimination format at all if the seeding in Swiss actually made sense. Because I think you need to do one or the other. The issue we have now is it's like Swiss being what it is. It's like you have teams clearly playing against very different levels of competition. Your wins, if you beat like 100 Thieves beating Billy, I feel like that should be more meaningful than just a one against someone else's one that beat like a Team Secret Wales or a VKS. Like I think in terms of the data that you have throughout the entire year, I think that you can, with conviction, make a 1 to 16 ranking and put value on a victory, put value on a loss, so you can actually seed the matches. And then you can go so far that if you're a 3-0 team, you have both 3-0 teams face off against each other, have a number one team, and let them pick which 3-2 opponent they get to play. Because if I'm AL, you know, like maybe if I get to play another BO5, maybe they hit the ground running, maybe they figure out something about themselves.
Absolutely.
They get to play against T1 after going 3-0. And people are going to argue, yo, this is a team that on paper were weak because they made it out of 3-2. But with how Swiss kind of works, it's not going to be true always. It's like you can make it out of 3-2 facing only demon opponents like a KT of 2023. Like I think the Swiss format in terms of what it is just a marketing ploy to create as much of a shock factor for the draws and upset factor as possible, because this is what, of course, let's say goes viral, whether it's on TikTok or Shorts or whatever. It's what creates a massive buzz around the tournament. But I do think the community sentiment seems to be that everyone seems to be so aware of how bullshit a draw can be or how easy a draw can be. So at least I think that is going to create an incentive for Riot to maybe have a look at how they've done it and maybe change things up.
No, I mean, if you want to talk a little bit, I would say this, on the whole double elim, single elim thing, I actually also feel like that discussion in League of Legends is really boring. Because even though people keep telling me they've watched other esports games that have used double elim format, it just doesn't make sense that they have when you look at what their reasons are. Like, here's what I don't get. I would be able to respect someone who wanted single elim if they said one of the following two perspectives. One is a bit like what you're saying, which is if you make it so that it's a well-seeded bracket that is like fair and makes sense. So you never get, for example, by the way, what we got this time, you don't get T1 just getting some, like they're supposed to have come into Worlds and into the playoffs, last place that you can ever come in, but they're getting a bracket that's awesome. That looks like they can actually, everyone immediately said it the second that bracket was drawn. A lot of people said, like, first of all, anyone's edging T1 basically is the match for the final. And then a lot of people said, wow, there's actually a bracket T1 could go to the final from. Because the perception in the world is the only two teams that they would be not favoured against on paper are GenG and Hanwha Life. And they managed to skip them completely, right? If instead the bracket was like they got one of Hanwha Life and GenG on their side of the bracket, then the other side of the bracket was, say, AL and Hanwha Life or something, that would already feel like it's not that big of a deal what the bracket is. Because obviously the first people who can complain about single elim is Hanwha Life. Like, up until, if people want to know, by the way, betting is so important, I think, for actually condensing the idea of who actually do people favour. Because you can say people do bets for fun, but actually they don't, Yamato. Most people really do bet on who they think will win the match, who they think will actually be the favourite. Like, that is mainly the thing that they put their money on. And I can tell you that once it got to before the semi-final of KT GenG, it was something bonkers, Yamato. Like, for GenG to win the whole tournament, so win that match and the final, they were like 1 point something favourites. Like, that is so low that essentially that means everyone thought that they're going to just win the tournament, even though there was 2 full BO5s left. So I'm sorry if your hand were light. If you got the most unfair draw imaginable, like what did you do wrong in this tournament? Nothing. But you ended up getting what at the time was the best team in the world. So anyway, I'm with you. If you just want it to be like, I just want, like essentially, they always say the thing they want about single limits, they want pressure, they want there's no second chances and all that. Okay, you could do that, and if you seed it well, I could live with that, right? But if you do it, stop just saying things that sound politically good, like I want pressure and I want it to matter when you can do it when it really counts. Because that's like basically, and obviously an incredibly biased way to describe the format, isn't it? You're just describing those components to it. But my problem is that's the sexy version of selling single elim. But you've also got to admit, and if you admit this, I don't mind people saying they want single elim. You've also got to admit you do want more upsets. You want more times where a fluky DRX wins worlds. You want that. You want it where T1 wins worlds. I did this video about it, bro. They just don't win double elim tournaments. They've been in about like 8 or 9 of them. They've never won one ever. Ever, Yamato. A single one ever, T1 and Faker. But they've won, if you look now, something like, I don't know, 4 out of like 5 of the last fucking single elim tournaments they're in. So if you want it to be, I want it to be a little bit more, not random, but I want it to be where if you hit a hot streak, you can just win the tournament easier. That is by definition what single elim is. So if you say that, by the way, that's valid. Essentially what you're saying here is, I don't care about who would be the best if you played 10 times. I want to know just really like fucking hot streak. Who on this one day can just get the match done. I want it to be exciting, basically. I'm valuing excitement and entertainment and novelty more than like just who is the best in league every day. But my problem is when you say those things, they always say in the arguments like there's more pressure, you can't fuck up. Like, by the way, all these things would apply in double elim too, but they just don't bother to grant that for some reason. I'll give you an example. If single elim is about winning when it matters most, then why doesn't Faker just win the grand final in double elim? That's when it matters the most in double elim. He doesn't do it. By the way, I didn't make him not fucking do it, mate. He had a bazillion chances. He had, in theory, I'm told, the best team in the world. He himself is the GOAT. I'm even told by his fans he's the GOAT now. What's he waiting for? By the way, logically, the more chances you have, bro, the more often the better team will win. That's why, I know this is going to hurt everyone's feelings, Chovey's won loads of double elim tournaments. It's just true. It's actually true. If you ever go and look, it was only one LCK before they swapped to double elim that Chovey started winning. He won that one, that like 22 summer or whatever it was. And then after that, it went double elim. He's just never lost, except one time. He had lost twice if you count LCK Cup. So anyway, my point, and then also the other one is, when they do that whole like, you have to be able to adapt to single elim. Well, you've opened the door there, haven't you, cocksucker? Why don't you adapt to double elim by that logic? Because here's my problem. I'll bring it back to the analytical point. I want to get your take on this. The reason actually why, in my opinion, so I'll give you a weird angle. I come from Counter-Strike, Yamato. And in Counter-Strike, we don't actually tend to bitch that much about not having double elim. Like, we finally just got the BO5 final for the major. It was just announced, right? That's what most of us want. We just want that, and we want BO1s out of the first part of the major. Most of us don't actually mind that the playoffs are single elim. But I'll give you actually a reason that's based on the game. It's called qualitative analysis. It's not actually about, like, abstract ideas like formats. It's about specifically how the two games operate. The reason in Counter-Strike why you don't really need double elim is Counter-Strike would be more about just seeing things like, would the second place team still have made it to second, or would they have finished third? You know, it's more like checking out the second, third, fourth ranking. In Counter-Strike, if I play you 3 days after I played you in the upper bracket, I'm not really going to, like I said earlier, I'm not really going to have changed loads of things, man. I'm not going to redesign how I play the entire map. I'm not going to swap people's positions around. I'm going to do a lot of the same things. I'm just going to try and get a slightly better read on you or disguise a couple of things in my game. League isn't like that. MOBAs aren't like that, Yamato. In games like League of Legends and Dota, if you have double elim, you can do a lot in the time between 2 BO5 series that you play against someone. I've seen this happen in the TI, if people watch Dota 2 all the time, where someone loses in the upper bracket to the team, and that's what helps them figure out the draft the next time they face them. Like, those 2 days can do everything, mate. You can find an angle, you can study what you could have done, you obviously watch the game. I think in games like MOBA, it's why I also say I don't like this condensed format. I like more prep time in MOBA and League of Legends type games. I think the more time you have, especially this fearless draft, mate, you have to get in the lab and figure out all the permutations and figure out a weird little curveball you're going to throw if they throw one, etc. Like, I feel like this is one of the hardest things, whereas in Counter-Strike, a lot of it is just like, right now, let's just do our best stuff again, essentially. So to me, I actually think League would be the best. Look, I've said it about MSI. I think MSI is the fucking best tournament we have in this game. It's mega. And by the way, here's the one angle I'll finally say on the whole double elim thing. If it's true that people think double elim isn't as much pressure, it makes it easier to win if you're not actually clutch and all that, then just say it about every other team this year. So go and tell me that actually GenG wasn't the best team at MSI. It's just the format allowed them to win. I mean, I don't know how, because they won the upper bracket too. Here's a good one for you. Do you know who the actual real champions of LCK Summer are? It's Hanwha Life. They won the upper bracket, bro. If there was no lower bracket, Hanwha Life would now be the champions of LCK Summer. Now, I've never heard anyone, no matter even if someone's the biggest trophy hater ever, say, actually, Hanwha Life are the real champions of LCK Summer. Because you know why? You all remember how that final went. And after you saw the final, you magically don't think they're the secret champions, do you? So I find that just so bizarre, mate. I would have thought KT's run in LCK Summer should be the best example ever of why I like double elim. Because they barely beat GenG in the upper bracket, then just got 3-0'd twice and out of the tournament. When they met them again, they got 3-0'd. Like that, if anything, doesn't that show, if you expand the sample size, it's not that it will always be different, but it can be. It can be really different. Like, if we never saw a lower bracket, bro, we'd have a very different perspective on KT right now. Imagine if they'd only won the 3-2 there, and then at Worlds, they'd beat them. We'd be like, they might actually just be a better team, bro. So I don't know. I feel like this whole thing, it's one of those ones that I actually find those discussions quite interesting as an abstract thing, but I feel like too many people, they just start with whatever they like, bro, and work backwards. Like, well, I don't like it, so this is the reason why it sucks or whatever. I'm actually quite open to having the discussion, but I feel like no one was having it. Everyone who likes double elim likes double elim, and everyone who likes single elim just doesn't listen, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think that without a doubt, I think that anyone that wouldn't say that MSI, in terms of determining who is just overall the sharper team, double elimination definitely is just the best and the better format for it. And especially in the context of MSI, because it's just straight BO5s. And I think that's the purest form of testing your skill, because in terms of how it's seeded, in terms of how you play through it, it's very fair through and through. You don't get the regions killing each other. Sure, you can be lucky and not draw an LPL, LCK team and draw the Western teams. There is an element to that, but we don't need to open up the discussion about how we should have more LCK and LPL seeds at tournaments and got more Western ones.
I know.
Every region, every major region is equal.
Once upon a time, Dom did a tweet like that, where, because he's Dom, he's more reasonable than me. So he just said something like, maybe there should be another spot for LCK. And I was like, Dom, brother, you don't even realize if I had control, mate, it'd be 8 LCK teams, 4 LPL. And then, everyone in the whole rest of the world competes for 2 spots in the rest of the tour. I can't be a prick like that, mate. Because again, I come from games like Counter-Strike where you just let the best teams in, mate. It's not about hey, everyone gets 4 teams. No, we're not doing that in this game.
It would just be, in Thorin's world, it would just be StarCraft.
It would, yeah. But actually, if you want a real analogy along those lines, this is actually why I think Riot, for real, Yamato, this is a real point. This is why I think they do make it so there's hard cut-offs for the slots based on region. Because this did happen in StarCraft. What happened is Blizzard did that tournament format called WCS, if you remember. And the problem they had was this, right? The first year they ran it as a real regionalized tournament with Europe and North America and right. What happened was they had a grand finals at BlizzCon. The top 16 teams over the whole year got to qualify to be in this tournament. Are you ready? It was 15 Koreans and my mate Nanawa, and he just lost the first match. So then it was just, whatever, take off 8 or something. It was just however many Koreans just played each other.
Sweden! Woo!
So it was oh, well, anything else going on? Because there was no one else in the tournament. Yeah. No, the joke is, people think that's bad. I'm seems like a pretty good system. Now, how do we get that one Swedish guy out of there and get 16 Koreans in? I'm an elitist. I don't think I've really hidden this fact, believe it or not. But I've been pretty open about it,
So just back to the topic at hand, and on the topic of worlds. It's I feel like people the community doesn't understand where the topic of actually defining where the pressure actually comes from and why worlds is so different. I think the main thing that makes this tournament very unique, obviously, I think in terms of how Riot has built it up and the reward for it and the grandiosity of it, definitely adds a layer of pressure. But we saw the entire year what made GenG's loss so strange, in particular this year, right, is just that they have been under the gun many times this year. They were 1-2 down against T1 to win MSI. They were the same against AL and They reverse swept Hanwha Life. Maybe you can argue there as like going the number one, being the number one seed to get out. Obviously, you can say that maybe it's not that pressure-filled moment, but like they have been clutch at many moments throughout the entire year. I think what makes Worlds so unique in terms of the pressure it represents is the logistical challenge and how unstable the work schedule is. In terms of moving around from location to location, in terms of how much practice you get, is very, very limited. So you need to kind of go through the entire tournament where for long periods you need to kind of shadow box in your own mind. And Mowgli said this when I interviewed him back in what was it, last year, when so basically I told him, I was like, Mowgli, it's like, so how do you win a world championship? You did it with DRX. How are you going to do it now with Hanwha Life? This was just as they beat, I believe, FlyQuest on the day. He said, we need God to win. I was like, so what do you mean? And he said, we need to hope that our prep is right and then just stick to it. And I think what makes or breaks you at this tournament is how much guts you have in terms of making calls to play something that you maybe practice completely, so little. And
I mean, like Mundo with Order, where he just picked it like a fucking Game 5 Pro elimination. That's pretty baller.
I think it was a pretty baller decision, but I love how the community reacted to it because my man owner almost sort of lost this game.
I know, mate. I know.
No, but it's like having the guts to make adjustments and then sticking to your guns. Because like looking at KT aside, they basically said, all right, we had success in the LCK, drafting teamfight compositions and then being strong at Drake 3 and 4 and just stacking the dragons. And that's the main thing they're doing. They're cookie cutter through and through. They're doing the same thing over and over again. And they're leaning into that idea. And through that, they're finding themselves and finding new levels of gameplay. Definitely, there's a part in that. But I think managing the schedule in comparison to in the LCK, you have your office, you have your schedule, everything you can prepare. There's nothing that is going to like, Riot's not going to come knocking the door. You have media day on this day. You need to do this. Or the enemy team has a media day. You can't scrim. Or it's like, oh, there's only 4 teams left in the tournament. You can't scrim against the other teams any longer. And there you have it. In comparison to MSI, where you travel to one location, you play through the entire tournament in one location. You can plan out the entire phase of it much easier. And I think that T1 now, with the level of experience they have done so many moments in the last 3 tournaments, last 3 World Championship, where it was like, oh, we can't play this. Let's pivot to this and let's hope it works out. This is what makes sense for us. And suddenly they just revamped the whole meta of the tournament and teams are scrambling. Similar to how GenG in that final game against KT, they tried to catch up to KT and play their way by grouping up with Yorick into a dragon. And I think framing that pressure is so important because Worlds is different because logistically, for a lot of players that are used to playing a certain amount of hours, playing a certain amount of scrims, this is definitely like a nightmare because you are coming into games and best of 5 sometimes with so many questions. And in that moment, you just have to say, fuck it, we ball. And I think that that's something that some teams just can't do.
There's 2 things here, which is one, if you want like a literal specific example, I do unfortunately think this whole discussion is tainted by T1 fans who, at least on some level inside their heart or mind, know that part of why T1 gets to win all these worlds is because it's single elim. Because if you actually believe T1 is just better and plays better when it's Worlds and there's pressure and they're clutch, they'd be more likely to win if it was double elim. By that logic, they'd probably win in 2022 as well. Like, they would have been favoured over DRX. So if you actually believed it, you'd want double elim as well. Like, pretty sweet. Anyone mentioned almost did it here. They almost fucking knocked T1 out. Well, if this was double elim, the odds T1 still gets to like the finals is way higher than I think it otherwise would be if they lose that fucking... I mean, obviously, it'd have a 0% chance there. But I think people favoured anyone's engine to beat them the first time round. I don't know if it was a low bracket. And then secondly, the example is this. Even though you get some people, I think they're just weirdos at this point in time, mate. There are some people after the MSI final do that complaint thing like, Luckily, so far, the winner bracket teams never lost the final. But if they did, they would go, well, they have to play twice because they only lost one life. Look, there's only about 4 weirdos left saying that. Mate, I've watched a million double elim tournaments, whether it's in Valorant or TI, where it's like the final has no bracket reset, and nobody ever goes, not really any pressure in this final now, is there? Because there's no bracket. No, everyone just goes, it's the final. It's still the hype. Like when T1 played GenG at this MSI final, it's still a mega pressure final. Like, that's what I don't get. Where's this myth that the pressure goes away if you have a lower bracket? Like, no, you just shift the pressure to a different part of the bracket. Like, I don't get it. And also, by the way, you get a load of awesome matches. Like that lower bracket final is one of the best matches of the tournament because it's number 2 and number 3 in the tournament play each other. That doesn't always even happen sometimes if you have the wrong bracket set up other than that. So yeah, I don't get it myself personally. I feel like you are sort of admitting you just don't think T1 would win as often. Which, by the way, I don't even think's true. I still think T1 would win most of these worlds because I actually think the whole clutch factor and the fact that they're the one with their own meta, that would all still hold. Maybe not as much. Maybe one time someone figures it out or someone gets an angle for them in draft when they rematch them. You could say that true. But I would say actually, if you look how they're playing, if they're really going to be clutch like this, I still think they would win most of these. Like maybe they would win this one right now. Maybe they could have gone to the low bracket and still won it. Who knows? So I don't even think that's real, mate. I feel like it's one of those ones where I'm still waiting basically for what the argument is for single elim. Like I say, you could make it things that well, I just want it to be like it's super intense every match or some shit like that, whatever. Because even that thing's not true that people say. People always say single elim is really good at finding the best team. It just does a bad job finding second and third. It's not even true because you can lose the final to the low bracket team. So it's not actually even always the case. But I get the general angle on that.
It is a fun exercise though to think because it's like if I were to think about it quick, I would say that T1 would be on their way to win their 4th if it was like maybe this one would be the difficult one because they might just win the tournament without beating GenG in a best of 5 the whole year. So maybe this one would be the one that would be challenged, but the DRX one, like people are not happy when I say it, but I think like 9 out of 10 times T1 beat DRX. That just happened to be the 10th time. And looking back at 23, it's like JDG was so far from, like, even though that series was competitive, I still felt like they were far from hitting the same beats in that form of the meta with the range supports. And 24 was another match, Billy T1. I would have loved to see that shit.
Absolutely. By the way, for all we know, maybe T1 wins even better the second time round, and then it's like convincing that they won worlds. That would even be a cool storyline, right? Like that's because that's really the problem. I essentially we've crystallized it, Yamato. I think the real problem is this: people don't think we're having a discussion about what is the better format. They think it's a secret political debate where you're hiding your politics. So what you're doing is, if you say you want single elim, it just means you're a T1 fan, and if you want double elim, it means you're like a Trophy or a Knight or a whoever fan. It's an LPL fan, anyone not T1 basically. People think that's the debate we're having. Whereas I've got to tell you, Yamato, I'm not joking at all. That's not the debate I'm having. I don't actually do debates that way. Like I do think a principle comes before what you want. So I think you should actually think about what you think is important in world, and then you put in the numbers and go, all right, actually, look, that means that in this case, the team I don't want to wins, but they do. Like, I'll give you a weird example. I'm not a trolling at all, that when I'm actually a fan of players or teams, mate, I don't ever want them to get an easy win, because I find easy wins very unsatisfying. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say that anyone's legend had beaten T1 in the quarters here, and then TES had beaten anyone's legend. And so in the final, it was like, let's say Chovy's GenG won, but it's GenG against like TES in the final, and then they just win easily. I actually don't think that would be that cool, Yamato. Like, yeah, Chovy would get to win worlds, but since the whole discussion wasn't, is he really good? It's, is he better than Faker? You want to see him play Faker? I actually beat him. You know, that's, if you're a Chovy fan, bro, we don't just want him to win worlds. We want him to like beat the best teams and ideally beat Faker and then actually get like that status. So I always say I want the best matches in the tournament, regardless of who the teams are that are in the event. So actually, that's why I argue for double elim, because I've just seen enough tournaments. Like I say, all the TIs, even in Valorant, it's actually the VCT format. I just think it makes for better matches and you get more hype matches, basically. Like, it's just like MSI. You get to see like sometimes teams play twice and have an awesome game. Like those Anyone's Legend versus T1 matches were both baggers. Those were both excellent series. That's why then going straight into EWC was cool too. Like, actually low key, by the way, that's actually so far ended up being the rivalry of the year. It's T1 against Anyone's Legend. It's actually been really back and forwards. But anyway, before we get into that, Yamato, because we will obviously discuss all the big playoff matches, there's actually a fun little way where we can come out for a second because we've got a new sponsor on this show, and it is Kalshi, which is a service that offers prediction markets for things that are happening, results in the game, but also they've got some fun ones here, so I thought we'd go through some of them because the fun thing is, since it's a market, the market's basically set by what fans and people who use the service did, we're not just saying what we think will happen, we can even react to what the market themselves have done, because it's just been essentially driven entirely by fan predictions. So if you have a look on this site, Kalshi, by the way, is available in 140 countries around the world. This isn't just for Americans at this point in time, so check out if it works for you. Go to Kalshi.com, use promo code LFN, make your first $100 worth of trades, and you'll automatically receive a $10 bonus. That's Kalshi.com, code LFN, the CFTC regulated prediction market for esports and beyond. By the way, it has sports, so there has loads of different markets. If you click, they've got all sorts of different types. Like I said, they've got individual matches. You can pick who's going to win this game, who isn't. Like, you can do the final of this event, T1 against KT. But I thought there's two that are fun here because they're more like a little bit more abstract. So one is this. It's a T1 related one, right? Obviously, what has changed between the last episode of Something the Insight and this episode is the last episode was a world where a lot of people actually favoured anyone's legend to win that quarterfinals. In fact, all the people I even saw on broadcast or podcast say T1 would win never had a reason why. It was just sort of like they're more clutch, or like I feel like they'll just do it. That was like the main vibe. Well, at that point in time, if they'd have lost in the quarterfinals, bro, like I don't think anyone really thought they were going to lose in the semis. If they'd lost in the quarterfinals, you could say that whole Zeus Thorin discussion gets reignited. Did they mess up the offseason? You know, Faker's just re-signed for a couple of years. Should they stick with Faker and a couple of people? Should they actually gamble on a roster move? You know, you could have a lot of discussions. Should they get a Viper instead of Gumi? Whatever angle you want to go with, in theory, they're all available. Well, now that they've made the final, the more interesting discussion, because suddenly this is actually the other way around interesting, goes like this. Will T1's roster stay together until basically the beginning of 2027? So all of next year, will the T1 roster be this roster? Will it be Dio, FGK? Will it be Doran, Order, Faker, Gumiushi, Carrier? Because obviously I think a lot of people do think if they didn't win Worlds, maybe Doran gets fired, or who knows elsewhere. I don't know. Maybe people still think Gumas can be benched. I don't know at this point in time whether it, but it hasn't been the best Worlds for him. Probably his worst World so far. So at the moment, you have to remember the way a market works isn't that it has to be over 50% to be positive. It's just whoever the leading thing that people have picked is. Believe it or not, the actual will T1's roster stay together is at 23%. So what do you think of that, Yamato? Would you be going honestly, yes or no for that? I'm kind of shocked. 23. I thought it'd be higher.
I feel like it's interesting, right? Because like if you go by like community sentiment, it's so driven by everything that is short term, and I feel like this is like the homies that are putting money on the line. They're a little bit more clever, you know, like they're thinking about things, zooming out. Like they're paying attention. Like they're just looking at the contract duration of players and how messy the previous off season was and how everything was scrambled together for this one. I feel like there's a pretty low chance that they're going to stick together, but at the same time, it's like I could imagine that line moving the moment T1 win the World Championship, because maybe, just maybe, everything changes, because it's like. If T1 from a business perspective, we just think about like that, if they manage to piece it together and now Doran has become like the new core person, it's like, even though maybe we would sit there and say, yo, Zeus coming back to the team would be crazy. I just don't know if T1 is going to make such a decision based on like fan and community sentiment. Because in the end, like the change of Gumiushi, that was for the fan sentiment, the majority of it. So it's definitely an interesting one, but I would lean towards they're not staying together. That's what my gut call would be.
Because here's the problem with this one as well, Yamato. Notice we didn't say should they stay together. That's not what the market is. The market is what will happen. And so I think the most interesting thing, let me reframe it for you and spin it back to you. Because here's my issue. In my opinion, there's two different things. What should they do and what will they do? Because I'm with you. Part of me feels like even if they win Worlds, and as of right now, it looks like they're going to win Worlds. Even if they win Worlds, I do think it's not impossible that they just replace the top laner, like that they try to get someone else. I don't know who it would be at this point in time. But my problem is, I actually don't think they should, Yamato. So I will agree with you. I actually agree with the market. I do think there's a real chance they will change it. And I also think here's why. Because I think also that the people in T1 are way more shrewd than fans realise. They have to play to fans that are nutters and think everyone's amazing and everyone's the best. No, I think if they really had the choice to get like Keen instead of Thorin, they would get him. I think they're not idiots, bro. I think they want to win every Worlds and every LCK. By the way, there's another thing. It's not just about Worlds, is it, bro? You want to win MSI and LCK too. If you could take Keen from GenG, you give yourself a much better chance of doing that. By the way, he's one of the most clutch players in the fucking world. So my problem is, should they? Probably not. Like, I actually do think Thorin has done his job. I think he actually deserves credit. By the way, especially at the internationals. You notice in the playoffs and the two internationals, he's been totally fine, mates. It's actually bizarrely, sometimes in like LCK Summerway, he'll shit every now and then in some of the matches. I think actually internationally, he's done better than I expected. They could have won both the tournaments. They could have won MSI and this one here as well. And then also, just like in the offseason last time round, I'm sorry, the only players I'm removing this guy for are the two that I don't think he can get, which is Zeus and Keen. Like, I'm going to go out of my way and say, surely the Zeus bridge is burned beyond oblivion. Like, they just had to spend the last half of the year apologising because probably thought they were going to get sued up the arse. So I feel like that one's done. And then the Keen one, that just depends whether he's available, whether he can leave GenG, whether he wants to, whatever that might be. Look, I will say, SKT, very good historically at getting other people's star top laner to join them to win one extra Worlds. That was a meta for like 3 or 4 years at one point in time. My boy Flame was even in one of those tryouts, but he got beaten up by Duke, unfortunately. So no, I do think that that's not impossible, but I don't think they're going to have an option. So I actually don't think they should. I would stick with what I've got right now. Like, the bigger issues for me were things like before the tournament, Faker champion pool, Gumayushi's had a bit of a rough one overall. I think he's gotten saved by Kerry a few times, but I don't think they should. But I'm with you. I actually think they will. Because the problem is, I think people are forgetting, like you say, the betting people aren't just looking at this tournament, mate. They're looking at what happens when we go back to LCK, what happens when we have MSI and first stand. And unfortunately, if they bomb any of those events, you know what T1 are like, mate? You can only win. If you don't win because you won all these Worlds, it's the end of the world. Like, people will melt the fuck down, bro. They will actually just lose their mind if they lose a semi or a final. And by the way, it's one thing to even lose the final. God forbid you ever, like, actually lose, like, an LCK Cup, like, just way early in the competition. People go mad. So I actually think that one's a good one. There's another fun one, though. This one is more of a Western one. So then the topic becomes, obviously, for LTA, now called LCS again, the main off-season move that's going to decide everything is actually Inspired. You could even argue could decide the LEC if he decides to come back, but it's implied he's going to stay in NA. So here's the question. Will Inspired re-sign with FlyQuest before the 20th of November? I'm going to guess the logic is the 20th of November is when they begin the actual like off-season process, etc. So basically what they're asking Yamato is, will FlyQuest, who obviously right now technically are the only team that if they want can talk to him, will they sort of get it done and announce it even before the free market opens up and therefore he'll just be locked up? But at the moment, market says 70%. So basically the majority of people actually think this is going to happen. What do you think of that? What is your reaction to that market?
So like my first idea would be to just look at who could potentially I think at the core, thinking about who Inspired is, you think that he would just want to have like a competitive roster, and you'd try to find like a home for him that would be competitive and at the same time would be able to pay him. And I wonder, like, the only information that we had that was leaked by Sheep Esports, right, was that FlyQuest, the leak was that Whippo is not playing top lane. That's all we know. Like, they didn't say Whippo's out. They say he's not playing top lane.
It's like they're trying to tease us, aren't they? Like, Whippo's not playing top lane. Sorry, what did you say there? I said he's not playing top lane. No, you keep fucking doing that with your mouth. I can't what you say. I said he's not playing top lane, all right? Oh, so he's not playing. Well, top lane. It's like, well, just say he's swapping a jungle already. Just tell us he's in. Because, bro, surely they mean he's swapping a mid or jungle. Is that what they're implying, do you think?
I think it has to be, right? Like either that or he's coaching or he's moving on.
Bro,
I don't know.
That's how I know. You know what? Inspired. I thought you were just like a really like blunt Polish guy, but you were really legit opinions. If you're actually going to let Whippo roll swap to mid lane, then at this point you don't even believe Jojo was ever playing League D. You think it was just you. You can just have anyone as your puppet in mid lane. You're like Faker to Bengi, but reversed. You just make the mid lane. You mid lane and jungle. Is that what we're doing now, Inspired? Like, surely we need a real mid laner for fuck's sake. What are we doing?
I'm wondering if like if we
I'm
want
so
to read,
scared. I'm so
if we
scared.
want to read into it a little bit more, even I wonder if it's like, oh, maybe Inspired and Whippo, maybe they don't want to play together anymore. Maybe it's something there, you know. It's like
True. Yeah, yeah.
Inspired is out, Whippo jungles, and if
Yeah.
Inspired stays, Whippo doesn't play. Like there's
Right.
there's layers to it. It's like the first thing, if I'm breaking down this one, the first thing I'm looking into is like what is happening with all the other teams around them, because the River news, I think, is what is holding everything back. Because if Inspired and River are competing for like similar spots, I wonder if a team like Team Liquid would want to keep the Quid River pair together. Because I'm trying to think of where Inspired could go, and beyond Team Liquid, there doesn't seem to be anything that seems to be like exciting. Sheep Esports also mentioned that there's interest for Inspired, and I remember reading that it was Lyon and Lion or Leon, whatever you want to call him, and Team Liquid, and then of course FlyQuest, and you slowly like put the pieces down. And I just can't imagine a world where Inspired would land on Lion, you know, as an organ, just based on like the players they already have and currently have.
No, by the way, this is one of those ones where I'm actually going to go the other way on this, bro. Even though the market says, yes, he will sign before then. By the way, look, if you ask me just straight up, like if it's on FlyQuest, I actually don't think you did your job if he enters free agency and then still signs with you. I think if you do your job, because essentially, like I implied, bro, at the moment, if you want, you can say to all the teams inquiring, you can't talk to him until the 20th. On the free agent day, you can talk to him if you want to. But for now, I'm just going to talk to him because I have the right. That's what my contract implies I'm allowed to do. Like, if you have that, it's the same as the Zayas conversation with T1. You fucked up the second you enter that free agency, bro, because then anything can happen, as you saw with Zayas. If you're the team who has essentially the privilege of talking to the guy in private before that, bro, you make your best pitch. You give him the CEO, have a conversation with him, star players, conversation with the coach. If you can't sell him at that point in time, I think you've actually fucked up your offseason, because actually you have that advantage. And if you do it right, that sets the whole market. Then at that point, you've got your jungle locked in. Now, by the way, it makes it way easier to sign your solo learners, whoever they end up being, because now you know who you've got. The best player in the region is in the jungle. You've got it all locked up. That helps you fix everything else in your team. So in my opinion, look, I think it will happen. If you ask me, will it? Yes, I do think he will be signed before the 20th. The joke is it'll probably be on the 18th or the 19th. It'll be announced that he's signed, so that free agents, the board just changes and everyone will go and get River or whoever else, like you're saying, that they want it, or Razork, whoever is available at this point in time. But I'll actually go the other way on whether I think they should. I actually don't think he should. If I was Inspired, bro, for you, it's the opposite discussion. Of all the times to let it go to free agency, you have all the power, bro, all of it. Because in theory, FlyQuest still need you. Think what I just said. They actually need you to get the other players that they're going to have. Because this isn't 5 years ago where everyone from Europe just goes to NA for the big check. Like, there is no big check, and their teams arguably aren't even better than the G2s of the world. So I actually think if you're Inspired, I would test the market, man. I would see what offers are really out there. I would get those European teams, not just to say, do you want to play for us, to actually show you, like, I'll sign this person and this person. You could get whatever you wanted. Like, if you're Inspired, this actually might be the most important offseason of your entire career, because this is the one that sets in your peak what happens for the next couple of years. And if you fuck it up and you just end up on a worse version of FlyQuest, that's going to be a bomber, mate. Like, that's going to get really sad. Like, I don't want to see this guy who's, you know, like some free Inspired bullshit where he's like in Elo hell. I think FlyQuest currently was fine, but if I was him, I would at least be testing. Like, if I'm Team Liquid, give me the best offer you got then. Tell me what you would do complete. Don't just tell me you want me on your team. Tell me what you would do for me. What would you put around me? What coaching staff would I have? How would it work? By the way, would I get to be the shot caller? This is the sort of shit you should do. So I'll say this. I agree with the market, but I actually think you shouldn't do that. I would say no.
You know, like I actually in this moment on your point, just to add like another layer to this Inspired cake, you know, the strong aspect of FlyQuest is the fact that slotting in Whippo and keeping the rest of the roster intact is a very, very like it's kind of like a very plug and play type of thing. You're maintaining everybody, and maintaining the core. Whippo's in, and then you have this project of your top laner Gakos that pushes in, and you can use that as a form of leverage too. And I think from Team Liquid side as well, like if they are going to be like pressured to spend a lot of money in a time where there's not a lot of money. Like, I think they can easily rationalize, we should just keep River and Quid together. Why would we take this risk? And then on the other side of the pond, if we think about, like, over here in Europe, it's like Fnatic lost Mickey X. They lost all leverage to try to get.
All this Razork news makes it sound like they're trying to make space for Inspired. Like, look, bro, we got your spot right here. We're gonna let Razork go. It sounds like they're trying to imply that to me.
Because it's like, because even in that world, right? Because there was like this stream that Inspire went on where he spoke Polish and he mentioned like if he were to make a super team, which players he would want to play with. Like he mentioned Joy Depune and Caps, and then he mentioned specifically in support Mickey X and Busio. And that comes back to that initial thing, like Fnatic getting rid of Mickey X just made them so much weaker in this offseason.
Yes.
And even though I'm with you 100%, like Inspire is one of those players that anyone who wants to win should want to pursue in terms of where we are at in terms of the saturation of jungle. Like I know that the LCS teams and the LEC teams are not going to break their back and break the bank to get a jungle that is better. But not good enough to like justify it. So I wonder if FlyQuest is like gonna put the pressure on Inspired too. It's like, yo, we have this other plan. If you want to come, then that's what it is. You can move on with your life.
All right,
that could be scary.
Edgy take. Here's the edgy take for you,
Okay.
Artur. You know I'm a massive Skewbon fan. I'm sorry. If I was the GM of G2, this, by the way, this won't happen. There's a 0% chance. I would genuinely, if it was possible to get Inspired, I would have to say to Skewbon, listen, mate, you're excellent. But that's, again, that's like the Doran topic. That's the one player I would take over you, mate. Like, if I would like Skewbon for the next few years, but if I have Skewbon now, I'm gambling he becomes Inspired. Oh, Inspired's already Inspired. Like, if I could do that move tomorrow, I would do it. Look, I don't think it'll happen, but I do think that's an example of where, like, I know what you mean. Like, teams will just stick with what they've got. It's why, actually, you know, it's the discussion we haven't had is where's Cloud9? Cloud9's doing the same thing, but we got Blabber. Bro, Inspired's better. Like, you're aware you can't win from things that happened in the past. It's only the future years you're building the team for. So it's awesome. But like, where was all the championships with Blabber? Like, you had the odd LCS, like you won like one out of every 2 LCS, basically. That's it. You did fuck all international. Like, if I had the option to make that gamble, I make that gamble because I do think Inspired is the closest you are going to get to like a cracked out pro that's from the West. That almost feels like he would win with almost any team. You know what I mean? You could like, you'd have to do a pretty bad GMing job to build players on this team where they wouldn't be better for having him. I just feel like that's true. Anyway, if you want to pick and have your say in these prediction markets, you know where to go. Go to Kalshi.com and use promo code LFN. Make your first $100 worth of trades and you'll automatically receive a $10 bonus. That's Kalshi.com, code LFN, the CFTC regulated prediction market for esports and beyond. Shout out Buzz Lightyear. Right, okay, let's get into the actual episode. So I think what we'll do is this. We'll just rewind and we'll go all the way back. So obviously, back at the quarters, let's just do one side of the bracket first. Let's do the T1 side since we already started that discussion. So I actually do think, Yamato, let's just start on T1 Anyone's Legend. Bro, at the moment, this is the series of the fucking tournament. It might end up being the best series we had in the whole event. And by the way, Anyone's Legend, listen, cover your ears, LPL fans, because this was the same story at MSI. You had him on the ropes, you idiots. You had him banged to rights. I'm not even just talking about when you were winning the series. Even in that Game 5, bro, that Game 5 was the ultimate microcosm of what T1 does to these motherfuckers. We have a take on this show, going back to my time with Monty. It was actually a take back in the day about TSM. We always used to say the most frustrating thing that would happen in League, Yamato, is you'd have teams like Cloud9 back in the day, or CLG, they'd be totally capable of beating TSM. They could do it if it was an unimportant game. But we always used to say, if you were in the playoffs and you were an LCS player and your brain saw on the screen TSM Bjergsen, you just lost it completely. You were just like a rabbit in the head, like, so, ah! You just go into some crazy fight or flight and you just start doing shit where you either do nothing and just let him just win the game off macro, or you do just like random ints where you just like compel, you do like what Lehens did last Worlds, if everyone remembers, against FlyQuest, that, where he's just walking into back, just walking out there getting slaughtered. It's some Leroy Jenkins shit or something. So that's what used to happen, right? Bro, this still happens with T1. I'm not even sure if it's T1 or just Faker, but bro, these players, like, when I was watching that game, I was even watching it like, holy fuck. Bro, Flandrea's got the Guardian's Angel now. Like, if they just play these fights, right, they're going to win this fucking... They're scaling, it's going... And at the end, What happens? The same story. T1 just pulls it out. They don't pull the trigger at the right time. They even did that one that really kills me in Cyberall when they sold Tarzan on that bottom fight. Like, oh, why? It's game 5, you fucks. There's no game 6. Why are you selling him out? Well, he's just trying his bloody hardest. By the way, shout out Tarzan. He did go down. He went out on his shield, you know, as we say in the UFC. What do you think of this series? Listen, it was a banger series, you might. It was really entertaining, I've got to say. I thought this was a sick series.
It was really, really damn fun. I think that T1 showed like better form, like in terms of like my prediction. I did land on T1, but I think a big part of that for me was just the time between their games and their matches. Like they actually had like a decent chunk of time to recover. Sure. An AL 3-0, like they got like the latest scheduled one, the match. So T1 actually could figured the stuff out, and they showcased like in the game 1, like we saw the Varos making a comeback in the tournament. We saw a return to form with, of course, Keria as well, slamming the playmakers like the Rakan. They opened super well, and then they tried to do this thing. It's like, it was funny because I made the point that T1's biggest challenge to overcome is always like their effective champion pool. And then someone came back to me and says, huh, look at that, see, they can play all these champions. I'm like, no, like the losses in the series showcases the flaw in that, you know? It's like we had that those 2 games where Gumayusi looked awful as like the Ziggs champion and the Draven game. This looked very stiff and horrendous. But coming into game 4, I applaud T1 for having like the guts to just slam a Kaiser game. And I know that a lot of people out there, they praised the Kaiser gameplay and so forth. I thought that the Kaiser gameplay was fine. It wasn't like a Gala, it wasn't a Vibe, it wasn't anything. But to have the capacity to lock it in when you're down 1-2 after having pretty poor performances throughout the entire year on it in a spot where it makes sense to lock it in, fair play to T1. I think that just speaks to their level of courage. Because coming into that game 5, they slammed the Ashe and Seraphine, and it kind of is just what G2 did to teams regionally, for example, last year, where like BDS and Fnatic couldn't for like even when G2 played as god awful as possible, BDS and Fnatic just couldn't beat them, even if like it just was impossible to even perceive. That's how it felt like in this game 5. Because if I look at probably like some of the weakest performances at a world championship from Keria and Owner, I think this is like among top 3. Like this was some of the weakest individuals. Like Owner on the Dr. Mundo, everyone was gassing that up, you know. But my man, he was running it down on this champion. You know, fair play for locking it in a semi-decent spot against Skarner. But my man was having a rough time, like misusing his ult, misusing W, his spacing was off. It was very clear that he doesn't practice this champion because, like, keep in mind, we're talking about Owner in the context of him being like one of the best performers of the entire year, the best performer of T1 the entire year. And we also had like Keria moments where he like flashes into walls, misses ultimates. Like it looked very scuffed, and still even in that context, we saw the circumstance where AL couldn't find the game-winning moment. Like they were so close, they were in good conditions, and T1 was very fortunate that they got Hextech Drake. But the beauty of a player like Gumayusi is that after having a relatively weak series on other champions, he can walk into a game 5 and pull off like a legendary game that will not be forgotten ever and will be in every highlight reel that is going to look back at his career. Like that to me is what is so insane about this. But on the flip side with AO, you could, like we've been talking about this entire year, right? It's like we were very happy to see how good Shanks was at MSI, for example. We were very happy to see like Hope stepping up to the play and playing like more carries, like with the Sivir gameplay, with the Kaiser gameplay. And we saw him like spread his wings more and more. He was no longer the guy that just got replaced by Ruler and Viper. But in this particular series, these two, they just lost so much steam, I felt like. Even Tabe, I praise you so much for the preparation, but that game 4 draft, I don't know how we landed on that with the Mordekaiser, LeBlanc, and Skarner. Like, that was a draft that I might see from GenG, you know? Because GenG, for the majority, you get away with that shit. Tabe, your team needs to have very strict identities in the team. And even that game, what Tarzan pulled off on the scanner, where he like grabbed like 3-4 people, maybe like a couple of times to even keep them in the game. But that should be like an impossible game for you to win. So I feel like in that particular game, Tabe dropped the ball, and then it didn't seem like Hope and Shanks ever kind of recovered. It's as if they, you know, we always make our UFC analogies. It was like AL when the championship rounds, like they suffer in the championship rounds. And the last time they played against T1, it was that game 5 when Kael played Poppy. I remember that game because that game was also to some degree kind of a choke job, because in the end it's like I did think that AL had certain moments where they could have potentially have like a winning game or a winning moment in this particular game 5.
No, I mean, first of all, I actually do think one of the sad things about Tabe is, bro, his teams do actually just have a choke factor when it gets to the end of the series, unfortunately, which is sad because in theory, he's supposed to be like a master of drafting and mind gaming people, but it just doesn't help when your team can't execute. This is why I made that point on that last episode. It might sound like a silly one of like, can you imagine someone saying, welcome to the stage, your AD carry world champion, Hope? No, because that's not who you think of that guy as. And unfortunately, this game is one of the reasons why he's one of the people I've always put the question mark on in this roster. Like, I think some of the players in this roster are fucking mega. I do think, basically, jungle, mid, and support can be the best or among the best in their roles. They can challenge for that. They're really that good. Flandre is just a veteran at this point in time. Like, his job, he's basically like impact on steroids. It's like, just keep up with the other top players, neutralize them when you can. And if you get the odd pick that makes sense, go off. But aside from that, your job, obviously, is let the bot and do what they're going to do. The problem is, bro, like I was talking generally about what they did in that game 5. The person who actually should feel the worst about that game 5 is Hope. Mate, you have a, can you, let me give you a thought exercise, Yamato. Imagine the same game state, but that's Ruler sitting on Jinx right there in those fights. Bro, you would be so much more scared stepping up on those fucking dragon fights or objectives or skirmishes. The problem is, this guy just couldn't fucking do it, mate. He couldn't get it going. Like, there are so many you know what? I'm not even that big a Guma fan. Guma would carry those fucking games if you gave him that Jinx, mate. Like, I feel like that's where Hope, for me, you had a chance to show you could be on the level of those guys, and you didn't take the last step up. Like, you just sort of, you step back, if anything, and you just let the game play out. And unfortunately, the game for me was just people like Tarzan just desperately trying to win the game, but they couldn't do it. Like, they could, and unfortunately, I've always said to Monty, I actually think the worst thing about League of Legends, this is one of the reasons I'm not as big a fan, unfortunately, of Fearless when you get to the game 5, is I actually feel like when people don't think they know what the right thing to do in League is, they often don't do anything, which is the worst thing of all. Like, I actually think the most unsatisfying way to lose game 5 is like everyone's just running away from fights and getting picked off one by one, and you're not like the worst thing is, bro, you're the LPL. The LPL is supposed to be the region that commits to the team fight, and if you get wiped, you get wiped, and that's the end of the game. But you stay in there. The LPL's rocky. You're not fucking point fighting. You're supposed to get in there and rock 'em, sock 'em robots, and if you can take more punches than him, then you win. Because that's what I didn't like. I feel like if I'm anyone's legend, bro, it's not just that we lost. You're feeling that game 5 like, no, we didn't give ourselves a chance. Like, the game was giving us moments. We had the fucking scaling. We had the Jinx. We had all these. We had fights even where it's classic T1. I think people go too far with the T1 narrative, Yamato. I do think they're clutch, but I think a lot of that comes from Faker. I do think having people like Kerrier on playmakers is fucking insanely OP, but I don't think T1 themselves really know in all these fights they're going to win them. They just have the ultimate fucking, like, right, re-engage or fight again or keep going or whatever. They just keep going, mate. I feel like even I actually saw Faker said this. He said coming in, he even thought they might lose this series. Like, he thought it was possible. Like, I think people do the thing where once you win, they go, oh, you were always going to win. You knew it. It's like, no, here's the difference though. T1 doesn't look to me like they second guess themselves in those fights, bro. They just go for what they're going to go for. And if they lose, like at MSI, then okay, they tip their hat and shake the guy's hand and fuck off stage. If I'm anyone's legend though, it'd be like BLG. I'd be up all night thinking about how these game 5s end, mate. They'd be torturing me. I'd be thinking again, oh shit, I should have done that.
Fully agreed, man. Zach, it's yeah, it's tough. It's like they started off so well. It was, but the fact is just like they stacked up too hard. They like looking back at AL's year, I still think it's like looking at what the roster should have been, they should have accomplished, and how they built up. It's like the only main change was like bringing in, of course, Tarzan, which was a massive signing, of course, but what they accomplished this year is still like insane, absolutely insane. And To not be able to pull it off in the finish line, obviously is like insanely disappointing. But I think if I'm in Tabit's position, I'm gonna look at that game 4 draft and gonna think to myself, it's like, how the hell did we end up on like Skarner, Mordekaiser, and LeBlanc in the same lobby? Like, I think that's the one where maybe Tabit could have put his magic in, and it just comes back to something that I remember that Tabe mentioned when he was on the Sackdown, where he said, when we asked him, like, what are the other coaches that you like look up to and have respect for? And the ones he mentioned are all the coaches that make like deep worlds runs, because I think that he understands that the skill set that you get tested on is very unique, and you go into waters that are, of course, so different in comparison to what you will be used to for the entire year. And he mentioned like the homie like Danny and so forth, and that's a guy that has managed to do his wizardry all the way. And for Tabe, I'm sure that game 4 is going to really be like really sting, because I think in game 5, like, he gave them usual tools. We've seen that Jinx Lulu. Maybe you could say Tarzan playing a final game on Sejuani, but that's a part of the skill set of Tarzan, that he's willing to branch out into any direction and still play a really mean game. Like, we didn't really complain when Inspired won a game on Sejuani against Bilibili, right? It's like, I don't think it's as simple as put the guy on carry, because obviously at that point, we are 50 champions deep.
Yeah. And by the way, he's another player. Like, it's a bit like when Kanye would play all the time. Just because Sejuani has the rep of it's for the bitch jungler. Yeah, the best junglers in the world carry on it too. This reminds me of back in the day where all those ADCs, like my boy Forgiven, thought Sivir was for pussies. I used to tell him, bro, you are aware in the LPL, Uzi plays it, has the most damage in the entire fucking game. Like, that doesn't have to be you, You can't just play it if it's a good champion, because I'm with you. Mate, I'm not going to ever blame someone for taking a Sejuani in a fucking game. In fact, it's a pretty good solid pick. Like, you know what you can do on it. You're a great player. You can have opportunities to help the map. Again, it can't. By the way, if it really has to be Tarzan as jungle carry the game, then we got some flaws in this roster, bro. Like, we're supposed to have mids and ADCs. Like, remember, I actually do think Shanks overall played a good series, but I also think that was also a bomber, mate. Is that in that game 5, like I say, I'm basically looking and going, right, I need the top laner to play the team fight perfectly with this Guardian Angel, and then I need the fucking Jinx ADC to step up and do something. I'd rather that was fed Shanks that could carry the game, but by that point it felt like he couldn't really impact it that much, So just one of those ones. It's actually I'm with you. If you do a big overview, if you look in this series, yes, you could have won. You certainly could have won this one. I think you would have been in the final right now. Who knows? If KT made the final as well, maybe you would even win Worlds now. That's not even an implausible thought. But if you look for the whole year, this is overperformance anyway, Yamato. Like, they could have won MSI, they could have won EWC, Worlds, they could have been this is a fantastic year. Yeah, they had the letdown in the summer, but aside from that, it was a brilliant year all in all. And if you look at the roster, this is a roster that before Tarzan got there, no one had this being a team that could win fucking MSI. Something like that's crazy. So as long as you can keep hold of these players, you could be very good next year too. You could still be a top 3 team next year. I will say though, I do look at this squad and I do think to myself, you better keep those Koreans though, mate. Because if those Koreans go back to LCK, that changes the game for everyone. Like, because I don't think it's just Tarzan. Look, I would say if I was the BLGs and the fucking KT Rolsters, I would heavily be looking at Tarzan and thinking, can we get him into our team? But I also think there's a world, mate, where there's a lot of teams could use Kale as well. Like, this guy's fucking good. Like, he's just shown it over time now. Like, this guy's a legit player. So I'm more interested also to see, can they keep the roster together?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I read a rumor already, like this morning, that there is interest from LCK teams, from Kael, GenG specifically. Sense. Yeah. But which is crazy considering Duro, but I don't want to like lean too heavy into it because this is a rumor, like a headline that I read, so I don't be spreading bullshit,
Sure.
No, but
fair enough.
Just on the T1 side, right? The main thing I just wanted to add from this series and everything like leading up to the series, I have to say, it's like from Faker's side in the last couple of World Championships, like in the T1 era of Faker, I think that his body of work at this tournament is by far the best.
It's actually
it's this tournament is insanely impressive.
Yes.
And people are gonna say, yo, but he clutched it out. Yeah, like he had cool moments like in the Silas game and so forth. But the overall tournament, like you could put a lot of mid laners that just performed better, and you could always point to teammates that just performed way better than him. I think you can even go so far to say that he was the weakest performer when they like won the world championship, outside of like that moment where he caught ruler with the Azir, outside of that moment, which of course is very, very important. But we are, of course, that's the equivalent of saying someone saying that worlds only matters in the context of a whole season. The same way within worlds, it's like that final game matters super, super much, of course. But the body of work and your output in every single game that you play, I have to say, Faker has been a machine. Like he's been so damn good, and I think that you can look at this team and say easily that he is the best performer, which I would have never guessed. Like, if you tell me Faker's gonna clutch out a couple of games and do some crazy moves, they're gonna be super memorable, and they're gonna make a whole ass movie about it, I would be like, yeah, I expect that. But for him to be like in a position where like Korea underperforms, Owner underperforms, and they're like kind of, it's sometimes good, sometimes bad, and Gumiushi is like struggling with the pool and sometimes plays good, sometimes plays bad, and Doran is a mixed bag, and Faker is the one that is so damn consistent. That is like a very, very new, let's say, journey for let's say the new version, the new era of T1. So props to Faker, my man. My man just has a way to do it.
No, people have to remember he was part of the reason why they fell apart at the end of summer. Like his form just went down massively. If you go back, the beginning of the year he was really awesome. Then he was still good at like MSI and stuff. He just wasn't as good as Shanks and Jet and Chovy. But you look, no, I agree with you, Yamato. If you want to look at these Worlds runs, so 2022, 2023, this is the best so far of any of them that he's had. Like on this one, he actually is the best player on T1. Like, to me, if anything, I'm with you from before. I think actually people have gone a little bit too ham on the Kerry angle. Kerry has had some amazing, like, game fives and big clutch moments. And obviously, when we get to the TS series, he basically had fucking Jackie Love in Kerry in prison, didn't he? Like, but aside from that, I actually think Fake has been the best player. Like, that's why maybe on a future episode, we'll have a little show that'll be separate for this on this YouTube channel. We'll have a discussion of who the MVP of Worlds could be, because it's between Faker and BDD right now, in my opinion. Like, those are the two players that have been above and beyond everyone else and have been the best player for their team. And it's why they're in the finals. Whereas actually, I agree. That's not something you could say in past years. This is why people are just boring dickheads, Yamato. You know, when the people are like, you're just hating on Faker because he's so great. We fucking worship Faker, you idiots. We actually know how good Faker can be. We want to see that again. You're the guys going, hey, you know, fucking Mick Jagger's still touring with the Rolling Stones in 2025, banging out all the classics. And we're like, no, he's a really old man, you dickhead. That's not as good as in 1971 or whatever. He was obviously way better back then, wasn't he, when he was really young and good looking, not just a giant old person with fucking lips the size of a bungalow. Like, no, that his past has gone. But this is like if he actually found the fountain in the youth, mate, then he came back out. Well, all right. Yeah, I'm Faker. Oh, yeah. What the moves? Fucking, I see a Worlds and I want to win it back. Oh. Anyway, whatever. That's my impression of Mick Jagger. Incredibly dated reference for about 60 years or something, but whatever. We're going deep. My point is, this Faker, I said it on Twitter, bro. If Faker and T1 played like this all year long, we'd all be the biggest fans in the world, you morons. This is probably the best, most fun League of Legends you can watch, isn't it? Is people winning the clutch, people pulling out picks they don't normally do, people who you think they're dead and buried, but then suddenly they play the best game of the year. They play at the biggest. Of course, everyone wants to see that. That's why people will T1. You're so boring, though, guys, because you're the idiots saying all the other tournaments don't count. You're the ones that he could have won if he'd wanted to. Shut the fuck up, you idiots. That's not even how the game works. He doesn't sit there and go, shall I win MSI? Nah, you know what? Forget about that. I'm saving it for Worlds. Like, what are you... By the way, there's another thing. You know that wasn't a thing in Faker's prime. In Faker's prime, he used to just try and win every tournament, and he usually did. What are you talking about? Like,
every game.
It wasn't like... It wasn't some... You're all on some Dragon Ball Z. He's not saving his power level, you fucking idiots. If he could win, he just won. Anyway... There's actually one series that, sadly, there's not much to talk about, so let's just do it now on the other side. The same bracket, we had the GenG versus TES series. G2 versus TES series. Now, Yamato, I let you all fucking drift off to Narnia with your dreams of a fucking beach and a pina colada and prime caps, and we can be in the finals and all the crazy shit everyone was saying. Bro, what a whack series this was. Like, TS just dusted them off. Like, I'll tell you what, TS certainly looked like they got scared against T1. Bro, they had no fear in this series. They looked fucking great. Like, they were just wrecking everyone in fights. What do you think of this series? I actually hoped it would be closer from G2. I'm a bit underwhelmed, actually.
I was surprised by the community sentiment surrounding the series. I feel like the narrative surrounding Top Esports kind of went too far, and at the same time, we saw TES smoke G2 in a BO1 in the same tournament. So I didn't understand where the copium was coming from. Like I was very happy to say that I thought that G2 was the best Western team coming into the tournament.
Sure.
But I never thought that they would take a series over Top Esports, because you need to qualify to play. And there was that game that they, of course, Top Esports lost, and that made sure that I knew that T1's gonna 3-0 them no matter what, because that one game they lost where they got ganked bot and they just lost the matchup completely, kind of showcased how soft Top Esports is in the game when things don't go their way. But the rest of it just seemed to be very, very easy work. This is like Kanavi at his best, I felt like, in terms of just keeping up in the game, putting on pressure. It really, really made the game as difficult as possible. And I think Skumon as a player is very good at jungling, is very good at protecting himself. But even a player like this, Kanavi is capable of cracking, because he can do this against the best junglers in the world. And that's his skill set, right? It's like Top Esports, if they get ahead early, they can look super, super good. But G2 just couldn't hold their own. And that one game that G2 won, of course, was the one game where they played Lucian Bard. And fair play to Hansama and Labrov. They had a very, very good early lane phase, and they took kind of the bull by the horns. They went between turrets and traded. Even though they got caught a couple of times later on, their job was done. And that was to make Top Esports kind of scramble in the game and play desperately. But I thought that Shanks as well, I think a big problem for G2 was when I made my prediction was the only world G2 has a chance is if Caps is much better than Cream on the day. And that wasn't the case at all. Caps hasn't, by his standard, even though you never let him go, he's a go to the Western League of Legends 100%. This year, by his standard, hasn't been a great year. I think that his MSI was solid, but there he had no teammates. And here at the World Championship, I didn't think that his individual level was standout in comparison to previous years. And obviously, he's not in his prime, because some people might say that it's in his prime. I bet you saw that conversation about what the prime is. I was surprised that you're still alive, bro. I heard something pop. I was like, oh, that's Thorin's having a heart attack. Something on the prime
I was on
conversation.
holiday for most of that, so I was able to just disconnect and just look at the sun and all the beautiful. Because I know what you mean about. Essentially, here's why. I'll give you the Thorin where only I can do is I can condense any topic into one sentence. Here's why the prime discussion is utterly stupid, because if that's true, the logic people are using is because the game evolves and the level rises, so people know. Think about how hard it used to be to do a Lee Sin insec back in the day, or a Mad Life fresh hook. Nowadays, a platinum player can do that exact same move because he's practiced it a million times. So the logic people use goes like this: since the level improves, logically Faker on some level is better than Faker was in his 2010s prime, because the game's better. But they then take that logic and say that means Faker's prime, in my opinion, prime is relative to the rest of your competition. They're saying that means he's in his prime now. Well, the reason why that doesn't make sense, I'll immediately show you. Even they don't actually believe it, Yamato. Because if that's true, they would apply it to every single player, not just Faker. So that would mean, are you ready for when Matter's prime was? Matter's prime was right at the end in T1 when he was dog shit and they had to bench him, mate, because that's where he kept playing. Logically, his prime must have been in 2019, Yamato. So, when people say Matter's the GOAT support, couldn't be. He was trash. What are you talking about? That means if you want to say Core JJ, he won Worlds back in 2017, guys. No, his prime's now. Right now is the best he's ever been. It's just a shit argument. If you notice, it only works for Faker because Faker currently wins Worlds, so they want to say that means he's in his prime. No, I know what you mean. That's why I didn't get in on that one, though, because I actually knew.
Silliness.
Yeah, that was one where Dom's still young enough that he gets drawn into those ones, mate, and then he's in the maelstrom having to reply to idiots, Nah, luckily I stayed out of that one. But yeah, keep going.
I was like, yo, we should rename Worlds to Primetime League of Legends because everyone is in their prime.
I'm with you, though. I agree. I actually think that's one of the bombers, is that even though G2's roster, I think, has a lot of potential, the problem is, I think Caps, the last time I saw him be good, I think it was 2 years ago, but I think in 2023 he was still pretty good. I think he's just become a little bit more of a boring mid laner to me now, mate. He just doesn't have that same pop factor. He doesn't take over the game in the way I want him to now.
I was like, Caps for the longest time was the embodiment of what the past, like the goated G2 roster was, the 19
Yes.
and 21, where his skill set was in terms of how dynamic he could make the game and how challenging he could make the game, and outside of the norm he could make it. But he was never like the best laner. That was never his skill set. And now you have players that are so damn complete that if like you could see it whenever Caps played against Chovy throughout his entire career, outside of like that one time they were in the same group back in 2019, right, when they had Griffin in the group.
Yep.
Every time they ran into each other, it's like Chovy just like drowned him. He drowned him. And there's more players like that nowadays. It's like BDD is that player too that can just simply drown you. And I think that more and more players are becoming more and more complete, and the lack of like insane resistance in the mid lane is something that is of course super tough to deal with. But at least you can say that Caps gets to play against Georgia Pune, play against Vladi. So he is, while it's tougher to be as good as these guys are based on regions alone, I do think that mid lane is one of the roles that is like you're a little bit better off than some of the other ones in Europe. So it's tough to complain. But I think the main thing is like if Cream was much better coming into that match. Everyone loves to shit on Cream, but he was better in the match too. Even in the game that they lost when he played Yone, he was like clean, even CS. And his bot lane like completely collapsed. But if he transitioned into Blade Rune King with no problems at all, like that's a massive win as well. So I think that Cream was just the better mid laner. And if G2 wants to do anything, especially with this roster, it needs to be off of the back of BB having some crazy counter picks and Caps just having the tournament of his life. Because on that scale, it's like I think G2 is going to come back into Europe and probably they're going to dominate because every other roster is changing and doing everything. But it's hard for me to imagine ever that this team is going to have like a massive impact internationally. But I think, as I say that, I think this is true for any Western team. That's forever going to be difficult unless you start from a clean slate and you can like fuse together like the Infinity Stones, which just seems to be an impossible demand that just happened once in history, 2019 and 2020.
If you were someone where you were about to start the G2 TS series and suddenly almost like a radio signal broke through from the future and you just heard a quick communication, it was all garbled like Jackie Love, zero,
like a
zero,
Lost episode.
0 deaths in 3 games out of the 4. You'd know you were fucked already, mate. The guy had 3 games he didn't die. It's Jackie Love. Like, if you don't know, Jackie Love, like, never met a fucking flash forward he didn't like. Like, he goes for every fight. Like, that's how you knew they were cooked in this series, bro. Because the problem is, the 2 best players on TES, in my opinion, are Kanavi and Jackie Love. And this is where, like, look, against T1, we'll have that discussion in a minute. Yes, they certainly had problems. But this is why you need to put respect on top LPL teams. Because it's one thing if you want to disrespect them related to the LCK, but miss me with this whole thing where, like we're talking about Caps, he just gets to stay in 2019 form forever, and he never, ever drops down. No, mate, people like Cream can get Caps. That's real. Like, that wasn't like Cream's teams just way better. No. People like Cream could straight up beat Caps and be better than him right now. And people like Kanavi and Jackie Love, there's no answer for them on G2. I'm sorry. Like, Skumon one day might be an excellent player who could do it. Hansama's a good player, but he's just never been at, like, he's not at the peaks that Jackie Love can go to in some of these team fights, mate. So that's why I actually feel like, even though we'll now have a discussion about how they failed in the semis, I think people have to give TES some respect for this Worlds run, mate. Like, at the end of the day, they might end up being eliminated only by the team that fucking won the tournament. Like, that's pretty fucking good all in all. And right now, yeah, anyone's edge can give T1 a great series. I think there's a world where T1 could just 3-0 in the final, bro. Like, actually, people might look back on it and we might still say, yeah, there's problems in TES, but this semis run's not bad, actually. It's not too bad. Obviously, an easier quarterfinal draw.
Yeah. No, it's like, I think from where LPL has been the entire year, it's like, it's like all the LPL teams outside, like Billy winning LPL summer and then doing what they did. I think all LPL teams, like they are gonna get away with anything. Like you're fine. You made quarters. You lost to T1. That's a given. No problem. Good thumbs up to you. Yeah, good job. It's like Billy set the bar so damn low that I think that what TS and AL offered here, I think they kind of landed in like a good zone. I never like when I did my power ranking, I put Top Esports like 5th. Obviously, like you can move it maybe AL above them, but the whole thesis was that I think that Top Esports will get smoked by anyone above them, and I would count Bilibili to that, HLE, T1, and GenG, because they can mechanically pass. If you mechanically pass against Top Esports, you see the flaws of their gameplay pattern so clearly. Like coming into those matchups, we can move on to the T1 TS series, I guess, because we can just connect together.
Let's do it in a second though, because
Okay.
first things first. Tell me about something not related to TES versus T1.
Yeah, but speaking of, Top Esports played that T1 series and they didn't eat at all. But you don't have to run into that issue because you can just easily get yourself hooked up with some Factor meals. Factor meals have been, hooking us up for a very long time. And, the cool thing is that the meals just actively change. I never get bored. I always get different things into my mailbox because I can easily pick and choose. More variety, more meals. You can choose from a wide selection of weekly meal options, which is cool. You can go from seafood options. All these things. Like I've always grown up, like even though I grew up in Sweden, like salmon and shrimp was always like the very, very expensive. That was like, that was premium. You stick the chicken, that's cheaper. That's how you get the bang for the buck. But the prices don't change. You can still get salmon and shrimp, and you can mix it up and you get that delicious seafood at no extra cost. You can support, of course, your wellness goals. You can enjoy even more GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. Whether you are keto, whether you are high protein, all your needs, all the macros and the micros are all listed very clearly. So you can, of course, set yourself up for success. And, I love the fact that it's so simple and streamlined. Being in a position where you don't need to like weigh things and do all this jazz and a lot of time going to the grocery market and then buy all the groceries and then learn how to cook and then to cook. The amount of time you save is simply just insane. Like you save so much time.
Breakdown. I think it has like all the calories.
Yeah, everything is there. Everything is there, easy peasy. And usually it's like the main concern is like, you just pop it in the microwave. Like, isn't the flavor going to be terrible? No, that's always the main surprising factor for me. It's the fact that you pop it in the microwave and then it's good to go, good to eat. And the consistency of Factor is just so damn good because I've had it. Like I've done the traveling all over the world and I've eaten Factor in 4 different countries. The standard is the same, super damn high all over the place. Speaking of going global, you can savor global flavors. You can just, for the first time, you can try Asian-inspired meals, which is super cool. You can go to China, you can go to Thailand, and you can kind of make it into your own thing. Like I remember, like I had like these meal prep services where they kind of just make it the most basic thing ever. Like this is as if it's like you're preparing to live in a bunker for like 2 years of your life, and they just make it as simple as possible. This is very dynamic and it feels like just a home cooked meal that you just pop out of your fridge and then boom, good to go. 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life, feel the difference no matter your routine. So with that being said, eat smart at factormeals.com/LFN50 off and use code LFN50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code LFN50 off at FACTORRMEALS.com for 50% off your first box. Damn, it was so difficult to spell suddenly. Plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Thank you, Factor Meals, for keeping us healthy and fed.
Indeed. Okay, let's talk about the semis then. So then we had the TS versus T1 semis. Now, I will say, as you will have seen in that actual feature, by the way, little aside, I think this is the best Worlds I have ever seen for those features before the matches, where they didn't just do it before the finals or before the tournament. They've done them before each of the like big matches. So all the faker ones, basically, there's been like a narrative set up, Chovy against anyone, Hanwha Life against fucking KT. I think these features have been excellent. The one thing I wasn't as big a fan of is, I do think as someone who's made a lot of features myself, they a little bit went too hard with trying to like force like one of the teams to be each of the 4 elements of fucking Chinese mythology. They went a bit too hard on that part. Like, I wasn't as big a fan of that part. I thought they like forced that a bit, but I get what they were going for. I do think in general though, those features have been epic. Like, they do give you the little chills. If people don't know, I'm not certain now, but as far as I know, I believe Fion, formerly Fion on Fire, I believe he actually writes those features, bro. I think that's actually because I think that's what he did. He got that gig from Riot for a few years ago. As far as I know, he's one of the people who does it. Sadly, at the end, they don't do a credit screen, so I can't see on that one. But I would suspect he does. Feels like he's getting some of those elements off. And then also, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So anyway, when they come to do this one, you'll have seen that the entire feature for that one was Jackie Love essentially just lost 1 billion times to Faker and the LCK. So unfortunately, it was set up that way, and it did happen again. And here's the one downside. I know a lot of people that were confident anyone's Legend could beat T1. The problem is, of all the teams from the LPL, TS is the ultimate sacrificial victim to T1. Like, even though you can copy them, like, I took them because the odds were crazy. But even I know that, like, if there's any teams that's going to mentally break, it's going to be fucking TS in this one, isn't it? Like, they're the worst for it. And, bro, even game 1 just started like that. Because game 1 was the weirdest game 1 you'd ever think between these teams. Think about TS. TS never says no to a fight in the LPL, bro. It's just a game that was like 1 kill for about like 40 minutes or something. Now, it was about like half an hour. But basically, one of the weirdest things I want to ask you about this, Yamato, is one thing I've noticed in this tournament for T1 is, bro, when teams are scared of T1, they just give them all the dragons. Have you noticed that? Like, T1 focuses mega heavily. If you remember, they used to do this a few years ago with the Herald. Like, they just make that their emphasis. They basically show we're willing to fight for this dragon, and people just give it up. Because I don't really, in this series, I think this is like the whole series is what I said about anyone's Legend in game 5. If I'm TES, I would feel so ashamed of how this series played out. Because it's like, bro, we didn't pull the trigger. We're TES. Like, if there's any team that's supposed to just send it and go, you know what, if we lose, we lose. It's supposed to be TS. In this one, I feel like you just played right into T1's hands. And if I'm T1, I would have been laughing this whole series, mate. It was just a piss take.
No, it's incredible how similar, even though like some elements are different. It's incredible how similar this series looked to that series they played last year at the World Championship. It was like it was a carbon copy because I remember that opening game. It was the same. It's like T1 was sacking the dragons. There was no kills at all happening in the game. There was some map trades that Top Esports did in terms of like securing towers and so forth. But any fight that was taken was always with T1's like best condition in mind. It's as if Top Esports like didn't change at all in terms of the Drake setup, because for the majority of the time they just got away with it in the LPL. Like they beat you in the lane, they got an advantage, and then they set themselves up in a way where any fight is winning because of the advantage they built. And the moment you run into a team that can lane match you and fight against you in the early game, and you don't get those cheeky opportunities, then you're going to have a really, really hard time. We saw in that game too, Kanavi's mindset, like the amount of ganks he tried to pull off. He like flashes over the wall, tries to undermine T1's bot lane, and then he went again after being spotted on the ward, and then he went top lane. Like he's just trying to create imbalances because it was very obvious that like T1 in terms of the Drake setup was way sharper. But I agree with you. It's like usually Top Esports, even against teams that had better Drake setup, they would still just roll up and try. You know, they would throw themselves in there. They would find themselves in situations where fights would actually occur. And in this one, it just seemed as if Top Esports almost agreed with T1. It's like T1 says, we are better. And Top Esports was like, we agree with you. Let's have a match, you know? That's just how it looked like. I did think also T1, probably from a preparation standpoint, I did think that this particular series just showcases the engine really kicking into gear. T1 in terms of the second game draft where they had the Camille setup with the Galio and the Nico. I love that draft. In game 1, the Mordekaiser slam as a counter into the heavy engage of the Wukong. It's like Wukong play against Mordekaiser is very frustrating because you just deny his ultimate value and he doesn't get the engages off that he wants to. And then T1 just roll out a very classic T1 with the Ashe and the Renata. It just seems like T1 is very in tune with what works for them, and they are keeping it very dynamic and at the same time very sharp. Like this is a very dangerous variant of T1 because we did see the entire year where if T1 had like certain drafts where they could beat even GenG on, and I did feel like in this particular set, all 3 games that they played were like, oh, this is like very, very T1S drafts. You can argue against the Kaiser and so forth, but in that 5 spot, when you have Camille, Galio, Nico, and Jarvan on your team, like the strongest engaged in the game, you're picking Kaiser, even if your name is Scary Jerry, you know, like it doesn't matter. Like you're playing Kaiser in that spot no matter what.
Also, in this series, right, again, if you're making win conditions for TES, on paper, Jackie should be a huge win condition right now. He's actually probably a better ADC than Gumayushi at the moment. Like his champion pools, right, for smack bang in the middle of this tournament. The problem he had, bro, is he could never fucking play League of Legends. Career was just on his face 24/7. Like, even though it was already in, like, when they'd already won the game. That one in game 2, bro, where he did the Nico, changed into a fucking wolf and ran through the other side of the jungle, then got all the way behind on the fucking red buff and did that like ult on the Jacqueline. Mate, Jacqueline couldn't even play League of Legends today. Like, this is so brutal. Like, I actually think Kerry is, like, it's funny. I actually do think he sometimes gets slightly overrated, but it's because like what he is capable of doing. No one else can do that as a support player, bro. Like, he just sees the game different. It's like the ultimate thing you say about all the all-time greats at that role. Like, they just have a conception. Like, he really does play just fucking on another level. He's too good. It's like, such a bummer, because in this series, if you go rewatch it, it never gets going. TS never ever gets into the, even if they get the odd kill, it doesn't matter. They give up a dragon or it's an even game state. Like, they never ever feel dangerous in this series. I'd say it's one thing to lose, but I think the worst way to lose is where you sit back and go, nah, fuck, I would have done everything different if I could go back in time. It's way better to lose where it's like, I took my best shot and you're better. I can accept that, mate. But I feel like if I'm TS, like, this is one of those ones where it's like, mate, if you're the coaching staff, how could you keep, this is why people have no hope in your team. How can you keep this roster? You can't. You've got to, like, what you've got to figure out, unfortunately, like a triage doctor, is who is already having these problems exacerbated by other people in the team. Like, I'll give you an example. If somehow tomorrow we swap Kanavi for Tarzan, does that fix it? Does that suddenly mean that, like, Jackie would get all these moments in the game when he would play awesome? And because whatever it is, like, there's something about this core. They've just defaulted to this approach way too many times now, bro. It's only the LPL when they send it. So this is why it's sad, because the potential was there. Like, there really was a world where they could have at least challenged T1 and made it exciting and made the team fights really fucking super sick. But I feel like in this one, it's one of the worst examples I've ever seen in a semi-final of a Worlds of one team just sort of going like, you win, you take it. So yeah, I feel like you just gave up. Yeah, you got beaten as well. T1 beat you, but I tell you what, you gave them the assist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's like it comes back to the initial topic too, like where we talked about the seeding, because it's like we had the technically 4 best teams of the tournament play against each other and the 4 weakest teams playing against each other.
Yes.
It's like if it wasn't for the KT GenG results, like this semis was designed to be boring as all hell.
Oh, put it this way. Imagine instead if this is Animal Life against T1. Game on, bro. That'd be amazing. Yeah, of course. Give me that game all day.
100%, yeah. It's like in a world where things made sense and GenG would just win with this semifinals would just be a courtesy, and it makes it feel worse for an AL or an How Alive. Like, even if How Alive and AO just played each other in the lower bracket, would be so interesting to watch and see. But here we are, Thorin.
And by the way, I'm also with you on the Kanavi angle. Bro, it's so sad because his ceiling is crazy, but man, can he also just give up in fucking series, mate. It's like, I'll tell you what my problem is. I used to say this about Double Lift. I always thought the problem is he's a very skilled player, but you can tell every time Double Lift played someone he thought was better than him. Because if he thought you were better than him, it's like his entire identity was like, I'm better than the person I'm playing. That's like not a meme. So the second he thought you were better, if you were Uzi or Ruler, you could see in his brain, it was like, nah, I can't win, can I? And it's like, that's such a weak mentality though, because think about it, right? As I said earlier, I actually think T1 are very reasonable, bro. I don't believe that they all really think they're the best. They don't believe what their fans believe, we're secretly saving strats for Worlds. They know that, like, they've had many times they haven't been the best and that GenG's better than them. But I'll tell you what, they don't play like that. They give themselves a chance in the game, though. They don't lose like. In fact, you could even say that being able to, before a match, go, I'm not necessarily the favoured one, can even allow you to play even more decisive and clutch, because, you have to. The problem with people like Kanavi is, the second he gets into a big match like this, where he's against Koreans and he doesn't have all the winning lanes, He just fucking, he's either going to do nothing or he's just going to fucking send it early. Like, he's just going to panic. Like, you just know he doesn't actually think he's better than Ona. He doesn't think he's better than Ona. He doesn't think he's better than Tarzan. I don't think he does. I don't think he does, bro.
Right? It's like, bro, Kanave at this point is on some, I don't know. He's like Theon Greyjoy, you know. He needs to come back home, you know. He needs to get some coaching in Korea or something, you know, to get that, you know, the simpleness, you know.
Yeah. Maybe he needs, by the way, maybe unironically, he needs to, we said about Tarzan, but Kanafi, you could also go and just play with like BDD on Katie Ross or something, man. That might even be an awesome matchup. That guy seems clutch as fuck and he doesn't ever get scared. Like, maybe that's the dude where if you partner with him, suddenly it unlocks this part of your game. I don't know.
It needs to be like, he needs to level, he needs to get some of that, the floor jungling, you know. It's like the player like Cuz, he always kept like a very, very good floor, and now he's finding some good peaks, but I do feel like there is an element of discipline that you gain from playing in the LCK that is different, while like you know, the LPL is like, just do your thing, be wild, be free.
Okay. Do you know what I've just realized, Yamato? Technically at this Worlds, everyone was actually everyone was doing NoFap. Did you know that? Because thanks to the bracket, we ended up having no Nut November. Peanut was already eliminated.
Ain't no way. Right. Why did you use your ad segment voice, Thorin? I know we're talking about.
The best part is, it's the way that even though that was just a stupid like dad joke. I said it in a tone as I was making a really important point or something. It was just a whack-ass joke about Peanut, whatever. Anyway, no Nut November, we all made it. We all made it.
We all made it.
Now we're never going to not ever again. That's it. We'll celebrate from now on. We're all monks. Yeah. Monk mode. We're locking in.
That was the Pope who sent Peanut to the military.
I know what you mean. That the fact I'm doing that voice. Anyway, that's why with our new service, Celibacy Now, in the corner of Fen, you can stop masturbating for the next 10 years. I know, like, receive this handy 3-month chip to see.
Oh no!
Channel, like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, bring it all back. Bring it all back. By the way, this semi-final, I don't think there's that much more to say. This semi-final fucking sucked, bro. Like, you know what? That whole discussion earlier about, right, Your Honor, we're hearing the case of the people against the Riot format. The prosecution would like to make the argument as to why double elim is necessary. Your Honor, I'll just show the entirety of the TS versus T1 semi-final. At the end of it, we rest our case, Your Honor. Like, I believe we made our point. Like, fucking hell, this was the semi-final. This match was garbage. By the way, if there was a lower bracket, mate, GenG is just waiting down there like, oh yeah, TES, hello, motherfuckers. Like, they would brutalize these guys. Animal Life would destroy this motherfucking team. What are we even talking about? Give me that match. Because that's the other reason also I want double elim. Look, TES doesn't just get to beat G2 and then be top 4 in the world. No, I need to see you play. You know what? Forget even let me see you play CF4, mate. Maybe CF4 could even get you. Right? That'd be an interesting 5-game series, mate. I'd like to see that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%, man. Like I don't know. It's like MSI has been a massive success during the double elim era. It's just been a massive success. What a level up it was from the previous format, because the previous MSI format was ass, like turbo ass.
Yes.
I wish Riot would at least take it for a spin. You know, like at least take it for a spin. I don't buy these arguments. Oh, but the World Cup and the Champions League and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but, you know, even Champions League is seeded better, you know? Like, it's like it's seeded better in a lot of cases. So in my mind, it's like, bro, they have physical restrictions, you know? Players get injured. They have other schedules to do, you know? We are liberated. We have freedom that allows us to do more. So I hope the Riot, you know, thinks about this and maybe considers deploying it, because I don't know. I can't imagine the talent. You know, they were already confused during you know, the draw show. I don't know if they add additional layers to make the seeding fair if it comes too cooked. You know, so I just hope they do something to solve the tournament. And just so T1 fans know, I still think in a double elimination world, I think you probably would have had another championship. Like you'd have 3 right now. So it's not against you. It's not against you at all. You know, it's chill. It's chill.
And also, people aren't realizing this is why that's not the argument we're making, Yamato. Chovy clearly plays way better in all 4 parts of MSI than he does at Worlds. Like, I actually don't necessarily say he would win all the Worlds if it was double elim. Look, he did win a lot of double elim tournaments, and T1 did only win the single elim. But I actually do think T1 would still win most of these Worlds. By the way, I'll tell you an example, Yamato, where I'm actually fair and plebs aren't. I'll tell you what actually is a bagger meme. Is, you know, when everyone keeps saying this argument of like, this isn't Faker's prime, but it's Chovy's prime. I'll tell you what, Yamato, you've probably seen this meme. I actually think that meme's really funny, where it says, Faker's titles won during Faker's prime, 3. Faker's titles won during Chovy's prime, 2. That's hilarious. That's actually, by the way, 1, that is accurate, and 2, that's a really funny meme. You're right. If anything, doesn't that make Faker's story even cooler? That this isn't his prime, but he's just winning the fucking Worlds during Chovy's prime. That's actually a pretty fucking cool storyline, isn't it? If you want to make him the final boss. Like that, yeah. By the way, now you see why we are Faker fans, but we're just not lunatics. We also think it's cool that he's like stealing them from the other guy on the way out. If I always say that, if you're Faker, the number one reason not to retire isn't because you need to win more Worlds. You're already the GOAT. You'll probably never be caught up. It's because you just make sure Chovy can never be the GOAT if you win all the Worlds, bro. Like, then he's shit our luck, isn't he? There's only 1 per year, and if you nick it, then he doesn't get anything. And actually, that is what people will ask in 10 years. In 10 years, a kid will look on Gamepedia and go, wait a minute, I thought the Chovy guy was the best player in the world, but he loses all these Worlds, and then Faker keeps winning them. Yeah, that's going to be a great conversation starter, man. That will be the start of like, hey, let me tell you, son, about the fucking second chapter of Faker's career, his second career, where he just basically cock-blocked Knight and fucking Chovy from winning anything. That's pretty cool part 2.
Yeah. It would be like the equivalent of like there's the whole story of Gary Kasparov, like basically like retiring after he was defeated by a very, very young Magnus Carlsen. But instead he's like, I'm just going to prepare for the candidates tournament, and I'm just going to beat the shit out of him there. I'm going to use the whole year to practice classical chess, and then just win the candidates over and over again just to mess with this guy. It's just no, the Faker story. I think that the game is blessed, and I'm in agreement with you. Like I care about how the narrative is portrayed and how like the entire year shapes everything up towards the World Championship. But I have to say, this World Championship is definitely rewarding the guys that are only watching the World Championship, because here we are again.
Yes, exactly.
It's painful,
especially because, sadly, if you only watch this Worlds, you would believe that we're all just making it up about Chovy and GenG. Like, so it can be true, isn't it? Like, like they didn't even 3-0 the Swiss, bro. Like, what do you want? Like, but the problem is, we're not joking. The rest of the year, they were really insanely good. Like I think Jack showed the stats the last 2 years. Like, bro, they lose like 1 game each season or whatever. Like, it's mental. Like, each split, they lose like a game. That's it. It's mental. So anyway, let's move on to the other side of the bracket. So on the other side of the bracket, we did start with another one of my cases as to why I want double elim. Bro, we had on paper what could have been the final of the event. The LCK summer final was a quarterfinal. Hanwha Life Esports drew GenG. By the way, already, what sort of a nonsense draw is that? Like, any form of seeding that exists would make this matchup the main one that is impossible. You would never be able to get this matchup, because even the most cynical seeding ever would say those are like 2 top 4 teams. So the idea you could play in the quarter, never. But you got it in this format, so whatever. Sadly, that game, like, here's the thing. I don't know what to make of it, Yamato, because I feel like everyone thought GenG was going to win. But at the same time, I actually thought it was actually a pretty fun fucking series, though. Like, first of all, it definitely could have been 5 games. You saw it. Hanwha Life was right there on that game 2, whatever it was. Like, I think this, as much as everyone thinks it's boring when Hanwha's plays GenG, I thought this series delivered, though. It was a pretty fucking good match.
Oh, so I think it was a very, very good and honest match, because I did think it highlighted the strengths and weaknesses of both teams. We saw the side to GenG that can be like overly greedy in terms of how they draft when they land on like a Kaiser Bard Victor type thing, where there is this part of GenG that just thinks they can get away with anything, and they just don't, because they like run into a Trundle after picking Sion. Like that game that they lost was just like ridiculous. And then we saw the side to GenG that could play like long and controlled games, and we could see, the flaws of HLE, where Delight and Peanut were very, very inconsistent in their play, and you could see the frustration of that really come through in Zeus's gameplay. Like I feel like that Ambessa game was the epitome of like a gameplay pattern of a player that believes he needs to do way too much in order to win, akin to a Kanavi that did so against T1. Sometimes you're faced with that realization, and sometimes you get to see magic, but it's very, very rare that a player that desperate is going to be able to, just do so much more in the game. Because the thing is, when you play against good opponents, they notice that you play desperate. And they know then that I just need to play solid and play safe because I will be given opportunities here. And GenG, especially Keen, really showcased that. Like when he solo killed Zeus in the Gwen Ambessa matchup, it was very clear that Zeus was just like, oh, I need to do so much more in this game. And I think in terms of how it rounded off, it's like when GenG just showcased that Nidalee Hui draft. That's the point where I treat it as like, yo, if GenG don't win this world championship, I don't even know what to think anymore, because they are just showcasing that they are capable of playing so many different styles, and they're doing it against very strong individual players, and everybody looked like in good form. We saw that Orianna game from Chovy that looked like insane as well, which just meant to me like GenG just looks so damn complete. And I feel bad for HLE because it did look very similar to the final that we watched, where GenG could drop games, but I never felt like they lost control. And anything that Hanwha Life took was based off of what GenG gave to them, rather than the other way around. And I think HLE's problem the whole year, outside of course Winter and First Stand, was that the Light and Peanut in the world of Fearless eventually got figured out and kind of lost steam. And I think that you need to be far more dynamic in order to keep up. And I think that everyone, especially like GenG, just ramped up and just passed them throughout the year. The last detail is just that Zeus is such an impactful player in the context of playing very good side lanes and also very good laning, and then show up to team fights. Kind of like a traveling salesman that just shows up to the office every once in a while, but he's doing super, super well, and you trust him. He makes his own hours, no problem, because he does show up and he brings the numbers. And in those fights, he just delivers and performs. But League of Legends top lane in particular right now, this is a role that needs to connect, needs to be there on Dragons, needs to find ways to base and give like big timing swaps and TP into bot lane to break the enemy matchup. These are not things that Zeus likes doing. Top lane meta is just not in a good place for the guy. And I think it really, really showcased. That's why I like players like Doran and Flounder, like doing better than a player like Zeus and even player like a Bin, because Bin just hates this. You can see this gameplay. It's like, I just want to lane 1v1 and exude my dominance, but he just, he just can't. He just can't. And HLE, from day one, we said that this was a GMing masterpiece, and maybe in a world where Fearless didn't get prescribed for the whole year, maybe HLE's entire would just look different. So if someone should be pissed, it is Hanwha Life, the insurance company.
Let me give you a counterpoint, because here's the part that people are missing about Hanwha Life's roster, is think about a world where, because you've added Zeus instead of Doran, you now have another player who has bans he can draw. Right? If you're in a normal standard draft, I'm sorry, Peanut and Delight would get their picks way more often than Yamato, because you'd have to spend the bans on Viper and fucking the pocket picks of Zika and the odd top lane matchup that Zeus would win. Because I'll tell you the person that I feel so bad for. Bro, I would genuinely challenge people, considering this was a 4-game series. Go and watch the series and tell me what Viper did wrong in this series, because I don't understand what it is, mate. Like, this is one of the best performances I've ever seen from someone who lost the series in 4 games. Like, he was just cracked out of his mind, bro. He still did the classic Ziggs pick, which he's always fucking sick on. The guy's just a fucking unbelievable player. Like, and I feel like people don't appreciate enough. Like, yes, there's times when Hanwha Life can be like challenging for everything. They can be top 2, but this guy, somehow the floor of his game is crazy, bro. He just never gives up. Like, I also just love, like, think about all the things I said at Jacqueline. That's not true. This guy will send it the moment he needs to. If he has to go in and die, he'll do it. But I'll tell you what, the amount of damage he outputs is fucking crazy, mate. It's nuts. This guy's so good.
It's just in a world where a ruler has performed as good as he has on a team that is consistently winning, like, it says a lot where a team that GenG consistently like beat post, of course, Winter, that people still view Viper like many do, like Viper versus Ruler, who's the best ADC. Like that's a conversation that's still occurring.
Good convo, yeah.
Like usually that conversation becomes so impossible to have because if your team is just consistently losing, you're like, it's like there is no substance there that I can measure with. But Viper still pulls it off somehow. He still plays in a way you're like, oh, he's damn good. He's so damn good. I think Ruler in this series also played amazing at the same time, and I just say that because a lot of fans, they believe like a lane is like a rope that two players pull at. Okay. If someone played good, then the other player must have played shit. Right. It's like there's only 10 lane beans, Thorin, and Ruler took 8 beans, so there's only 2 left for Viper. So I feel like both players played really, really damn good. I thought that the Varus performance was the same from Ruler, but Viper deserves props, you know. Like if next year, let me just pull up like HLE's what's looking in their contracts. So it's like their contracts are running out at the end of this year for the entire roster. Like that's crazy. And if we were talking about T1 and them changing, like if T1 signed a Viper, who the hell would be mad? It would be insane. Yeah, it would be insane. That would be nuts if they have it. Carry a Viper? Are you mad? That would be nuts. That would be absolutely nuts. And with all the troubles they had with Gumayushi and so forth, you know, I love the fact that at least T1's PR has managed to not put the idea in the mind that Faker and Keria also agreed with the potential benching of Gumayushi. Because for us here, we think it's naive to think that if Faker and Keria wanted to play with Gumayushi, you think any coach or anyone could have a say in this team? No fucking way, by the way. And don't get me that, sure, someone's going to tell me, yeah, but the hierarchy in Korean teams are different. No. In this team, it's not the case. In this team, they made intentional changes to bring back like players as coaches to have that impact and to have that connection with the players so they have more input. We see it in the way they draft too. So to loop it back, as like Viper as a player, it's like, this is going to be a massive piece in this offseason. It's like looking at HLE now and seeing that their entire roster is like, the contract ends. I don't know what they're going to piece together. It's going to be intriguing to watch.
No, absolutely. Like there's another player, depending on what Viper does, can just change the entire landscape of League of Legends. I mean, this guy is another person where if I was any of those teams, I'd be in a bidding war. If I'm KT, mate, get this guy. I don't care if you even win worlds, get this guy. If you need one and you can get him, get him. Like, this is one of those rare players you do the upgrade for. And he's also proven, like, remember, he has done it all. He basically just hasn't won MSI, that's it. Like, aside from that, he's won his worlds already. He's won the LPL. He's won LCK. He's won everything. But I tell you what, he could actually go to a better team, though. That's how cracked he is. And if you handle life, again, there's your GM. Number one priority is keep this guy. Because this is actually the best player on your team. It just is. I'm sorry. And that's saying a lot, because I think people like Zeus are fucking mega, mate. Like, people like Delight can be awesome, but this guy is your star player. Like, Zika right now, that's the one where we're going to let him go, if anything. Like, because, I mean, if we get to later in the conversation, people have made that point a million times. But another thing I'm thinking about if I'm BDD is like, mate, if I get the offer from man when it go to replace Zika, I'll take that team all day long. What are we talking about? What, and then maybe you bring over a Kanavi or a Tars or something. Mate, we're cooking now. These are all rosters. It's actually one of the coolest things about LCK is LCK. The GMs there can just decide the entire thing. Like, they can make lineups that look like they should win worlds. You can have 2 or 3 all in the same region. There's so much talent to spare. It's not like where you make a super team in the West and then no one else has any of the players. Like, there are so many players to go in the LCK. No, absolutely. Right, okay, what about... Sadly, the series that didn't really deliver was this KT versus CFO series. Right, on paper... Actually, a bunch of us picked CFO even because they looked awesome up until this point. Also, KT, unfortunately, it's not like we're being unfair. They have been a meme at times. Like, I notice everyone does this thing, Yamato, now, where they go, KT beating GenG. Well, look, they already beat them in summer. Yeah, and then got shit stomped 3-0'd by 2 teams straight after, won 0 games and went straight the fuck out the tournament. And that looked like there was one day of their lives where they were awesome, and then every other day they were just KT again. Like, I notice people forget to add that detail because, mate, that KT, the one that got dunked on and the one that just had like an easy run in this Worlds, I thought there was a real chance they could get pushed, mate, and that actually CFO could get them. So I have to say, on that, it's actually one area where I was very shocked by how clean this series was, mate. Like, this was easy. What do you think of this?
I did think that like KT, this was by far like the best games they played at the tournament at that point. It's like top esports looked very soft against them, and KT had games that were too close. against MKOI. Like they could have lost against MKOI that match. Like what we saw in that match was quite disturbing from the KT bot lane, and the Team Secret Whale game as well. It's like BDD needed to do BDD things, like he needed to like basically like drag his team over the finish line, and to be forced to do that against Team Secret Whale just felt a little bit too early in the tournament. I didn't have a lot of faith in KT because the main time where they looked like good was that one GenG series, and we didn't have like a lot to work off. And I was worried. It's like considering most teams that are stuck in that 3-0, it's like historically that's been a very, very tough spot to be in. And the teams that get to learn so much more about themselves tend to be kind of more hardened, like steel. And I did think that CFO would come in with a sense of awareness of what will work for them and how to, of course, just attack KT. But I did think that KT, in terms of what they figured out, which is something that they did against GenG, and I think that this is something that they've leaned into the entire year. So props to Score. I think they are very, very good at their dragon setups. And the biggest issue always for the longest time was like, how do we get there? Because it's like Perfect would get caught, the Dokdam and Peter would actually lose lanes too hard, and somehow magically that is not a part of the equation anymore. And they can show up to the Drake fights, and Peter and Perfect, like as players, are just finding suddenly they're in the conversation being the best in the role at this tournament. Like, what are we talking about? Like we had this whole conversation the last episode. It's like Peter. And it's like, and we're in the world finals. Here is Peter. It's like, what is happening in the world?
He's smurfing. It's ridiculous.
And in this series, he was taking a big dump on Kaiwing. Like what Cuz and Peter did. It's like, this was a series that BDD barely needed to do anything. BDD was relaxing. Cuz and Peter were just taking over the map completely. They were finding invades and they were suffocating Junjia. He could barely like move or play the game. KT straight up just stomped them, and it was like as good as a look as you can get from a BO5 against CFO. That was like really, really good work.
No, the most brutal thing is, I actually think in the case of Peter, he has played way better than anyone could have imagined in this Worlds. But sadly, if I was the ruthless GM, I would still replace him immediately. I just would. I'd go, you know what? You gamble that he does it again. But I'm sorry, like, I just don't believe he can keep doing it. But I'll tell you what, in this series, though, you'd never know he was anything other than a world-class support mate. It looked awesome. Korean support's just built different, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, it actually reminds me of the conclusion I came to after watching that Asia International with the 5, 6, 7 teams, which is, wait a minute, were KT and D Plus actually really good? It's just they were playing against T1, GenG, and Hanwha Life the whole year, the best macro teams in the world. And so we were like, they're all fucking shit. And it's like, well, actually, against everyone else, turns out they're fucking crack too. Like, they just make everyone else look shit, innit? Like, you know.
It's so interesting because like we saw the two reactions to that. We saw the Nongshim reaction where it's like it looked like a Dementor was in their office, just like pulling their soul out of their system, and they just like couldn't deal with the losses at all. Like they didn't know how to win anymore. It was just awful. And KT just like got beaten, and they're like they just kept going somehow. You know, they kept going. They kept like giving it their all because eventually someone's gonna give you an opportunity to win, and there is something so damn respectable about that. Like BDD has been that player for the last like 3 years. He's been that player, but for everyone else to also rally behind that and to maintain like mental stability through all of those BO3s where you just get smacked around by 3 teams that are better than you, like that takes character. Like that is super, super impressive. And I did tweet out like the LPL hope would be Home and Tabe because the prep work looked very good for the LPL teams, especially top esports against G2. It's like G2 got cooked in the draft, like completely blasted in the draft. But I think that you can add Score to that list. This tournament accentuates the impact of coaching more than ever because of Fearless, and Score has really set up his team and his players to succeed in every damn game, really leaning into their strengths and their good qualities, and they deserve like a shit ton of props. Because on the flip side, right, it's like if we look at some of the other teams that in terms of their prep looks a little bit worse, it's like T1 looked sloppy in the beginning because of that. And before we get to the, the main course, I can tease also the GenG and the prep was ass.
Yes, indeed. Look, we are in just like I said about Peter. He played awesome in the quarters. In the semis, he beat the #1 team. Maybe they looked at the best team ever at that point in time in League of Legends history, GenG. He's going to the finals. Not only would I kick him, I would kick half the fucking KT teams. I would say, I don't care if they even win, bro. I would still play. I feel like they've got so many areas they could get a better player in. Someone from the LPL, some other top player. But if they're going to do that, Yamato, they're going to need to do what KT does, which is they don't spend every year, but when they have the right pieces to go all in around them, they get out their wallet. And if they get out their wallet, it better not be some shit old leather wallet. It better be what wallet, Yamato?
It better be a Ridge wallet. The homies at Ridge, they sent me another one. God bless them. Now I have 2.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. It's like, I don't even need to because I have a lifetime warranty with Ridge wallet. I travel with mine, I went through security, and then it started beeping. And then they did the checking. It's like, oh, I forgot. I have my wallet right here. And then they looked at it. They inspected it. It's like, oh, damn. What is this work of art? Where did you get it? I was like, yo, it's a Ridge wallet. It's a lifetime warranty. Look how durable it is. It's like people try to steal your money and all that jazz, bro. This is safe against that, Anything with technology, fears, begin to be more and more, because there's more ways to penetrate your data and all that jazz. No, this wallet keeps you safe. I'm happy that I got the same design because I'm super happy with the one, the matte black one. I also have the keychain right here, right next to me. I dropped it on the floor. I'm not going to stand up. I have the keychain here too as well. I like the fact that when I have it in my pocket, it doesn't jiggle. It's like having your keys jiggle while you walk. And that's something like it's not masculine at all. When people hear you coming, Yeah. I like the fact that the keys keep compact, and then over time you have like this. There's this charm, It's like, I used to be a smoker, right? And the main thing that I miss about smoking was that, like, I had something to do with my hands that made me look cool, And obviously, it's like it's very, very unhealthy, all that jazz. So I quit smoking, and so forth. But now I have my Ridge wallet. I can do things with my hands to make me look cool, I have in my hand that you play tricks with it. It's very, very cool. I like that a lot. You can, of course, on top of looking cool, you can design it however you want. There's so many options. You can go from aluminum. You can go from titanium, carbon fiber. You can add additional add-ons to it, which also is super, super cool. This is a product that is so reviewed and 5-starred, 100,000 reviews, and just 5-star ones, which is absolutely crazy. I mentioned the blocking thing. The name of it is RFID blocking, which is super important. Keeps you safe from any, of course, digital pickpockets, which is super nice. I'm hoping to add like this AirTag attachment because I'm a person that I just lose my wallet all the time. Luckily, this one I've kept close, so I'm happy that I have a backup one. But you can just add an AirTag, so you can just find it wherever it is, which is super cool. So with that being said, no matter what you pick, Ridge has free picking, 99-day risk-free trial. So you can just get it home, test it out. You don't like it, send it back. They're not stressing. They're gonna be selling these wallets easily. So if you don't like it for some silly reason, because you think you're too cool or something, no, you're being silly. Just get yourself a Ridge wallet, lifetime warranty. I already mentioned all of their products. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at ridge.com by using code. I believe the code is summoning, but I'm going to double check that.
I think it's SI, ridge.com/SI.
Oh, it's SI, even easier than that. The code is SI. So use code SI at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code SI and you're all set. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them and just let them know that, me and Thorin sent you. And we'll be very, very happy because that lets us know that we are doing a good job with the show. And that of course, products that we promote are also good stuff. It's like I'm using the Ridge wallet every damn day. I'm super, super happy. Thorin was telling me about it before, and I've had it now for a solid year. And it looks new. I'm super, super happy with it. The skill of, in the beginning, it was tricky to play around with the cards, but now it's a part of the smoothness,
now,
Yeah, it's part of the
if
smoothness.
anything, I'll go the other way on that one. Initially, it feels weirder, but I can tell you, before that, I had the wallet that's a compact one, but you press a button and it all flies out. I can tell you, I know people who have though. They agree with me. The annoying thing about that is all the cards fly out, and sometimes one comes out too far or whatever. This one, once you get used to it, you just become a master at suddenly just pulling out the one you want. And if, for example, I use it in the Netherlands where we have one of those cards. You can just use your bank card to go on the underground and the tram. You don't have to have a specialist card. I don't even have to pull the card fully out. I just pull it halfway out and then scan it and immediately in, and I'm straight back in my pocket. So I find it super easy. And also, that's why I actually bigged it up to you, Yamato, because one thing I think's cool about doing LFN stuff is, as people can tell, we have a lot of leeway as to what we say about the ads. And if we didn't believe that the product was super mega, by the way, if we thought it was just a good or a normal product, then we just do the ad read. That's all we do. But if we say on top of it, we actually use it, it's really good. And then we don't have to say that, by the way. Like, we're not obliged to in the contract. I've even told Monty, there's reads I'll do where it's like, for example, if I was to do the read you did about the one about the hair loss one, I don't use that product, do I? Look, as far as I can tell, it's the best on the market, so I would do the features of it, but I wouldn't say I use it and I swear by it. So if we say that, we actually mean it, boys. So just pay attention to the ones we do that on. Okay. Now let's talk about what I think might be the most mental fucking semi-final outcome I've ever seen in the history of League of Legends, bro. Like, listen, there've been upsets before. There've been times when underdog won. But you know what? I said it earlier, I'm going to run it back. Even as someone who saw that upper bracket in LCK summer where KT won, I just want to remind all the people, like, yeah, but they did win that one technically. Right, that series was still 3-2, by the way. It was incredibly close. That one was way closer for GenG winning the series. And then also, if you ever watch that one series, Doc Dam was like fucking ascended, bro. Like, he traded all of his fucking life points for that one series in a way I've never seen from someone who, remember, only a year or two ago was considered a bomb who was holding Milky Way back on fucking FPX. Like, please remember that that was real. That happened. Like, I didn't make that up. That was what was going on. And now this motherfucker's in a world's final over Ruler. Like, what? So anyway, this one was even worse though, Yamato, because this one, for real, bro, yes, certainly GenG had some moments, but KT couldn't 3-0 this even. Like, this was actually like what seemed like the most impossible result. And I can tell you, don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. You might remember what I said about betting markets. I checked before this semi-final. And before this semi-final, GenG was a massive favourite to win Worlds. It was something like, I think, like 2.5 to 1 at that point in time. KT was the fourth most likely. Before this semi, if you'd made a bet KT wins Worlds, they would give you 17 to 1. Now, if you want to know, even DRX was lower than that. DRX before semis of that Worlds in 2022 was 12 to 1. Because I remember, because I actually put a cheeky little bet on him, thinking, fucking hell, 12. I have to be right 1 out of 11 times. What? Like, so I even did that one famously for DRX. Like, I think it is, now everyone's rewriting history of like, oh, well, of course Chalky was going to choke, and of course KT's really, bro, I don't think anyone could ever have predicted KT in the final. I think that is the most crazy, like, even if Handwell Life had won, surely Handwell Life would beat them. You know what I mean? What do you think of, let's just start with the big picture. How the fuck is KT beating GenG in the final, Yamato? Give me some thoughts.
I was like, I just, it's, you know, it's strange because I think the whole narrative around GenG is like people want to frame this as this was like business as usual, but this was this was like the most extreme. Like, I don't think choking is black and white, but this was all black. Like, this was as pure of a choking job as it can get. Yeah. I think that the most signifying moments was, of course, the Oriana game for Chovy, where he died to the gank and then just like walked into BDD as he just stabbed him to death on Azir. Yeah. And then I think also the game 4 where GenG slammed Yorick and grouped on a Drake 2 with a Yorick that has a Phage and a Hardbound Axe against an Ornn that is allowed to push a wave and has TP to join the Drake fight. That's how hard GenG leaned into the KT playstyle and removed themselves from their own. Because famously, it's like the whole year, GenG did this thing where they set up the map in a way where Drake 2 was the one where they generated gold. They made sure that they like soft contested to keep you guessing, and they contested in a way that was so beautiful, and at the same time just funneled gold into, of course, Keen's pockets, using Fog of War in a very, very nice way, sometimes into Chovy's pockets. But then when I see that Yorick just like bringing his wife to a party, you know, with a like one of those like glowing motes and a Phage on Yorick, it's like the antithesis of this champion, and also it's so antithetical to how GenG also play, and that just showcased to me that GenG was just like completely out of it. That game 1, I don't know how heavy that was, because that game one looked like a classic GenG game in terms of how controlled it was,
Great.
in terms of how they did the setup on objectives. They were in control of that game for the majority. But there were some moments that looked like back and forth, but they looked like they were going to win that game the entire time. And then we had that miracle like Sion Q chop onto, of course, Cuz in the mid wave, where I thought the game was just over. And then we had this moment where Canyon just goes 3 screens away, via ults, Duke down under the turret, and I'm like, what on earth is happening? That is. And then he just dies, and then GenG gets aced, and then suddenly, BDD finds these miraculous angles on the Yone, which is something we've seen him do in the past, but for them to lose that game state is something that I had never seen GenG do before. When GenG had won games, they had won games. When they would lose, it would probably be because their prep was bad and the enemy team got a good team fight on the first Drake, and GenG was just playing too greedy. But the way GenG lost that game one was very, very strange. Kind of reminded me of that game one they lost against HLE last year in the summer finals, where you had that big comeback play with Viper finding an angle to come back into the game, where GenG was super, super far ahead, and it just kind of changed the tide of course, the series. But that following the Orianna disaster, I just thought that GenG was just not in the right headspace. And KT, of course, I think that they have found a very strong and concrete identity. And I think that Peter and Kaz are playing together better than they ever had, honestly. And it's just working so well against a team that is so used to playing a very individualistic style of League of Legends that relies on very, very sharp individual performances. But when you no longer believe in your individual performances and you're trying to play a way that everybody else played for the entire year, you are obviously not in the right state of mind. And I think I'm very careful with using the choking like moniker, but I think this was as blatant as it gets.
No, I'll start with the bigger overview. I agree with what you're getting at, by the way. One of the weirdest things about this tournament, the best contrast is the MSI that GenG won. If anyone goes and watches that final, the grand final against T1, I thought Dom nailed it. By the way, shout out to Dom's editor, because I always thought the guy who would be the best in the short form content was actually LS. I always thought his sound bites will carry the best. But actually, if anything, that doesn't seem to work, because the problem with LS is his sound bite's always super spicy. But then you need the 20-minute breakdown to know what he was actually saying, don't you? I actually think Dom's short form content is fucking unbelievable, mate, because when he just makes like a 2-sentence point, it's usually actually really concise. And the point he made about the MSI final, I thought he nailed, which was up until that point in that series against T1, they were just playing T1 style. They were having like team fights around all the objectives, etc. And then it's like eventually GenG remembered, wait a minute, we're GenG. Why are we doing that? Like, why don't we just pick where the fights take place? And the second they did that, bro, in the game 5, they just won the game. Like T1 over and over again had to take these bad fights. This series, GenG never had that realization, mate. I agree with you. They just play. It's not only that they just like played a bunch of bad. They opted into bad fights. This was crazy. Like I've seen this team all year do the best. Like right, pull back. This isn't our fight now. We can give that dragon up, or we can reposition here. Or if we fight in this part of the map. They were like opting into just bad fights, so, like almost like they were panicking and just pulling the trigger. I thought that was whack, bro. Like that was really because that's where fans don't realize we're not making it up. The rest of the year, GenG was a different team, boys. That's why we kept saying they surely will win Worlds, because you watch them in any of the series, they couldn't lose, mate. And if you want to start talking about some of the players, I'll tell you the obvious player that did play like completely like shit compared to those. It is Chovy. Here's the thing. I don't think that he like hard choked all the games, but the difference is, man alive, this year was the best year ever for Clutch Chovy, bro. The amount of times, even in the regular season games they'd have against T1, that he'd pull off some crazy ult or like go into the center of a fight and kill 3 people like fucking Neo from the major. He did it so many times this year. But in this game here, mate, BDD was just better than him. He just was. Flower better player. And shout out to BDD, just sent it, mate. This guy was good. I don't know if he even really believed himself he was going to win the series, but I tell you what, he pressed the fucking buttons, bro. He went in. So what do you think on the Chovy angle? Obviously, people want to know what we think about Chovy not winning Worlds again. Because, you probably saw it on Twitter. Bro, the way they phrase it, I listen to fans. I don't agree with them, but I listen to them. They think, this is why they hate Chovy. They claim they don't hate the player. What they hate is that he's forced down our throats as the best player. The irony of people saying that who are Faker fans, by the way, is crazy. But let's put that on the shelf for a second. They hate the idea that if they don't watch super closely, all the other they think that essentially if he's the best player in the world, Yamato, like everyone said for the last 3 years, he should do it at Worlds. He should just show us in these matches. This is a game against him. Did Chovy choke?
In this KT series, I would say 100% yes. I would say so. I think just the lack of poise in terms of how he side laned and that Oriana game is just burnt into my memory. And I think for me, what's I guess natural but also sad is that like any league fan, where they start, if they're going to watch it as an entertainment vehicle, right, is going to be at the World Championship, and then it's going to expand into everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's kind of like saying that GenG chokes at the World Championship, and I think it kind of, or Chovy like drops the ball at the World Championship. I think it's very reductive. It's like the equivalent of like, oh, watch this new movie. And then it's like, yeah, but I know the bad guy is going to lose in the end. So what's the point of watching it? It's like, no, it's like this year was different in the sense that we saw GenG win a reverse sweep. We saw them win at international tournaments down 1-2 against a Chinese team, against a Korean team in T1. They were insanely dominant, 29-1. We come into the World Championship, of course, and the meta barely changes at all. This was just like additional layers to the meta that people added. And there was no world where, GenG came in at the same time as the team that is the least flawed in a world where every other team is insanely flawed. LPL was in shambles. We saw them beat How Alive over and over again. We talked about their problems. And T1, was the main competitor of anything. Everyone looked at this World Championship as GenG could potentially lose against T1, because T1 had times during the year where they were very, very impressive. I think for the longest duration, it was basically like a competition who was the second best between T1 and HLE. There were periods where T1 was better, periods where HLE was obviously better, like late summer or in winter. But with that all context in mind, it's like this is not the same as the previous years. Like 2023, when they lost to Bilibili, that wasn't like some crazy super team. This wasn't stacked with Ruler and Canyon players that have done it and have gone all the way and have made a kind of a reputation for themselves of being like insanely clutch. Last year, obviously, they had Pays and Lehens, and I don't think that you can pinpoint that specifically to Chovy as being a choker. That's why I think like the narrative around it's like, oh, is GenG just the same story as usual? No. This is far more extreme than I've ever seen anything really. I think the as being such a big favorite, and it's funny always like, oh, KT beat them once. It's like, yeah, but under the pressure, which is such an important aspect, under pressure, GenG 3-0'd them with ease, right? But coming into this series now, it's like how heavily they dropped the ball. Like I still think this is like one of the biggest upsets ever, regardless of KT beating them in a best of 5 in a double elimination format. Like I don't think that adds to the conversation at all. This GenG roster still, like leading up to that point, I think they were easily in the conversation of being like one of the best rosters of all time, if not the best roster of all time, considering how many styles they mastered at the same time and the range of play that they had. I think that what you can talk about GenG concretely, if anything, is like Canyon's performance was something that was lackluster for such a long time, and in this series as well. You hate to think about it, but still, if it wasn't for that throw in game 1, maybe the tide of everything shifts, because I do think in the conversation of pressure, being like losing a one game can really impact you and the rhythm that you have in the series, because that's something that GenG almost never did. Like losing a one game, they've lost games. And they did it with like, oh, this was our fault, well, let's move on. This was like, oof, this was a new layer that they needed to face. And it comes back to the first topic that I mentioned. It's like in terms of the coaches, we give praise to the other guys. It also makes me think, it's like GenG, you've managed to piece it together and be like insanely good throughout the entire year. And you've made it work with such big players. But you always have to think about the lack of prep that GenG had in terms of the drafting and how loose it was. You know, when it comes back to bite you, that's when you begin to, like, the wheels begin to turn. You begin to question things. A simpler approach sometimes gets you further, because that's been the case now for KT.
When people get mad, Yamato, because they've done it every year, when we say things like, wow, this GenG team could win the Golden Road, wow, they might be the best team ever, people get really mad, but it's actually very stupid that they get mad, and here's why. Because what they always say is, they wait until Worlds happens. Then once Worlds happens and they know GenG didn't win, they go, ha ha, you said they were going to be one of the best. Yeah, all we can do is predict what's going to happen. Like, we, as analysts, we literally do this show every week. We have to do a week to week. You have to understand that's almost like a power ranking. Power ranking doesn't actually mean that team is better than the other teams in the ranking. It means that currently they're in hotter form. What we're doing on this show is analyzing the current state of that team. And I'm sorry, it would be bad analysis to take a team that loses, like, you know, one series every fucking split and be like, yeah, it's just an all right team, but we'll see how Worlds goes. That would be a really shit show, and that wouldn't be analysis. I'll give you the obvious analogy that if you're smart, you'll get, and if you're really stupid, you won't get it at all. So who gives a fuck, T1 fans, right? Do you know how the weather works? The weather is based on things like, there's a bunch of markers within the environment that you can check that suggest a certain type of weather will come that day. But who among us, I would ask the question, hasn't looked at one of those apps that says it'll stop raining for 10 minutes in 20 minutes from now and gone, oh, perfect. And we treat it like it was a train timetable. We go, right, what I'll do is I'll wait in a little bit, and then I'll get my coat on and I'll go out quickly in 15 minutes so I won't get rained on, and I'll go to the post box and I'll get the post, I'll come back and I'll be fine. And you go out and it's still raining. You go, what the fuck? I thought the app said, yeah, but it can't read the future. It can only look at the trend. And sometimes you will get a really crazy one. Sometimes, like, there's a famous example in England that people used to use to make fun of this very famous weatherman, where in the 1970s, he said something like, there won't be, like, you know, like a fucking, I can't remember if it was like a hurricane or something like that. Like, he said something like there won't be one, and it turned out there was one. But the point is, if you looked at all the data, it actually suggested there wouldn't be one, but it was like a freak thing came out of nowhere, and it just suddenly happened. And everyone said, like, fucking idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking. Saying, no, actually, that's how you know he does know what he's talking about, because all the other times he was right, and that's what you call the exception that proves the rule. So first of all, it's just silly. Like, I hope people realize it wouldn't work on either end if we did analysis the way they're saying. Right? Imagine the whole year, every time T1 sucks, we just go, yeah, but they'll probably get it together and win Worlds. So actually, they're still the best team. Like, that would just be dog shit for that too. So I don't think people realize, listen, totally banter people and say, lol, you were wrong. That's fine. That's just part of being a fan, by the way. That is absolutely a part of fan culture. I would never say against that. But we are actually doing our jobs when we say GenG is the best team. And also, by the way, I'll just point this out, just so I like accuracy. Miss me telling me that we said 2023 GenG was the best team in the world of all time. That was JDG's year, you cocksuckers. I was there. We glazed JDG the whole year. In fact, what really tilts you guys is after they lost that Worlds, we did that episode where all of us agreed, even though that team didn't win Worlds, it is the best team ever to play League of Legends. I know that one tilts you even more, T1 fans, because they didn't even win Worlds and we said it. But that was also based on what I think is a good piece of logic, which is, because the main strength of JDG was team fighting, bro, I think that might be the only style that would work in every year of League of Legends ever. Like, you actually maybe could drop that team in any better. I think they'd have a chance. But yeah, I just thought I'd make that point, because let's talk some more about this series. I'll tell you what is actually a sign of how crazy overpowered this GenG roster is, bro. You would think if you have on paper a super team of players, and the only player who's not a super name is Duro, and by the way, he was contending for best support in the world, for real. Like, look, I probably would still have given it to Kerry at times, but Duro played awesome the whole year. Like, believe it or not, even when GenG was at their best, there is one factor I think carried through to this Worlds from the regular season, which wasn't amazing, which is, bro, I'll tell you who has let me down also, but he just got away with it because of the Chovy drama. Bro, where the fuck was Canyon this year? This year, I'm saying, mate. Not this tournament, not this year. Canyon's actually had sort of a down year for me, mate. Like, he's had a whole bunch of regular seasons that were nothing. They were just like, whatever. He'd have some bunch of... And then now, I think he was kind of a bit mad this Worlds. Like, I don't think he was terrible, but I'll tell you what, this is the guy that we all consider the GOAT jungler, like, and he's playing with like prime Chovy. I'd ask that question as much as people want to put it all on Chovy. I'd ask Canyon, mate, what more do you want? You've got fucking Peak, Keen, Ruler, and Chovy. Homie, just play the game. Again, we're not saying you're playing Order. I think Order's been unbelievable this year. I think Order and Tarzan are the only two other junglers that can just say, I did nothing wrong. I just did an awesome job. Mate, this is fucking cause. The joke is he once was on T1 and considered not good enough. Like, no one gives a fuck. Like, Canyon, mate, where were you? What do you think about Canyon?
I'm with you. It's like the playoffs was scary, and I think that Canyon for the longest time, especially during his tenure here in GenG, he, like, in terms of regular season play and until it really mattered, he kind of like just stepped up and figured it out, like in the final series, or whether it was like through his pocket picks, like a Kha'Zix pull-off against the Xin Zhao that he did against T1, or the pivot in the meta that he did at MSI when they won it the first time around, where he played all the AP junglers that nobody else could play, or these Nidalee 5-game picks that he slammed and, you know, did decent in. Besides that, maybe one game against Owner where he like died against his Lee, but ended up winning anyway. Like in my mind, I thought that he kind of just got away with doing that because he stepped up to the plate. And looking at his playoff run, like everyone saw that he was like underperforming, but with GenG in particular, it was like, it doesn't matter. It's like one GOAT is underperforming. You have like a couple of more here. Like, it's no problem. It's no problem at all. But here, I really thought that Canyon, especially when the earlier matches that he played, it did seem like he was ramping up and he was finding form and he was doing well. But in this particular series, it's like he just wasn't there at all. Like even down to his champion choices, like slamming the Pantheon in that game 2 was also very strange. It kind of seemed like he didn't evolve as a player and didn't keep up with what the meta was and with the times. And that is kind of like scary, you know, like for me, something that I always paid attention to was like the amount of solo queue hours, solo queue numbers. That was the start, something that they just started ramping up after they lost to Katie the first time. And I wonder if there was, you know, the philosophy in terms of how hard they practice and how much effort they put in. Like Canyon was always the guy that was consistently like just rank one. And when that is like, when you're no longer that rank 1, you begin to like look at the details in terms of how it affects your gameplay. And it makes me think, is like, was the lack of emphasis and the lack of effort behind what you did as the player you're supposed to represent as Canyon, was that the downfall of Canyon in this context? Because like bro, I remember so many final series, like his final ones in D+, like outside of course the last year that looked very lackluster. It's like I remember that series against GenG that he almost like just won together with Showmaker against Chovy and Ruler. You know, I remember those Kane games where you did completely crazy things, and I can think of many games that you carried even more recently. But it just seems like everything is catching up to the Canyon method, because we live in a world now where there's so many damn good junglers. Like we talked about it the whole year. This whole year seemed to be the year of the junglers, and it seems you know, sometimes you have players that are really, really damn good, and they are doing and approaching things a certain way, and there's a point where you no longer get away with it, and then you have to play catch up. I think the best example that I can give is a player like Hylissang. Hylissang was one of the greatest European players of all time, but he had a very, very strange method. Like when off-season hit, he just didn't play League at all. And then he came into the office, and then you had to deal with the fact that, you know, he would be out of shape, and you needed to figure that out. And I think at some point, a player like Hilly just, you know, that method just no longer was enough, because players around it just got better and better. And I wonder if Canyon has finally reached that point where his approach to the game is just not like it doesn't pass anymore. Because if you get smoked by Cuz, you know, there's a long list of junglers that can also pull out that performance too.
Well, you know what, Yamato? If you asked me about Canyon this year, I'd say, you know what? No fucking good Worlds performance, no Worlds title, no chance in the end, even though he had no excuse. He had all the best fucking players. That reminds me of Mint Mobile, because at Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. So here's why you can say yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 a month. This is a US company, by the way, guys. So ditch overpriced wireless and their jaw-dropping monthly bills, unexpected overages and hidden fees. Because one of the problems when you get a phone contract, obviously, is there's all these extra aspects in where they always make the number look awesome, but if you don't look into all the other elements, maybe they skimp on this one, or they give you less of that, or they give you one thing up front, but then this thing's not. There's none of that hidden stuff here with Mint Mobile. It's really easy to do. And by the way, where I come from, in slang, mint means really good. It means something's fucking awesome, basically. Yeah, that's fucking mint, that is, mate. Like, that's what everyone would say when I was a kid. So all the plans from Mint Mobile come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network, so the best all around there. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. By the way, this obvious section is sponsored by Mint. So are you ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/summoning. That's mintmobile.com/summoning. Obviously, it's worth pointing this out. An upfront payment of $45 is required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time, new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabyte on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. So if you're looking for a new mobile carrier without all the hassle and with all the excellent elements, then go ahead and check out Mint Mobile, our friends over there, and use, again, mintmobile.com/summoning. There you go. You can get that excellent deal. Shout out to Mint Mobile. Right, okay. What about this then? Technically now we're already previewing the final. And we're going to there'll be a separate piece of content where we do that also. But let's just do it now. Right, first things to say, Yamato, is, bro, the most obvious storyline, win or lose for KT, is, mate, this is the tournament where anyone who doesn't watch LCK got reminded of who the fuck BDD is, mate. Because holy shit has this guy been cracked. But it's here, people don't know. One of the takes that I actually had on that Hot Take Pot Made League of Legends show I do, where we come up with the craziest hot takes, was I had the take that, like, mate, for the last month, you could actually argue BDD was the best player in the world. Like, I think he was even better than Chovy, even though Chovy won LCK summer. Like, he's part of the reason why they've had these wins over Chovy's GenG. Like, he seems to be the only mid laner that actually matches up well into Chovy. Like, his style, it just suits him somehow, mate. And I'll tell you what, you said it when you were talking about on that particular game. Mate, BDD used to, I thought, himself be a little bit of a choker if you go back like 8-9 years or whatever. You know, he had a little bit of element in him where he lost a bunch of LCK finals. He obviously should have probably won that Worlds that Samsung won over fucking Faker. That one, they were the favourites for it. But here's the difference. The guy now, mate, has the biggest balls ever when it comes to pulling the trigger. He just sends it. He just sends it in the fights, even if he knows. Like, I look at this roster, mate, I'd be nervous about some of those players following me up, peeling for me, helping me. This guy, it's why I actually think this is a great example. I don't know if he comes, but mate, this is what you call leading by example. Because, mate, when my best player who plays the most important role sends it like that in a fight, why wouldn't I send it if I'm Peter, if I'm Cars, if I'm the fucking inexperienced, if I'm perfect and there's barely any experience at all? I'd just fucking say, yeah, you, okay, boss, let's go. This guy's a fucking beast, mate. He's on some fucking Maximus from Gladiator shit.
BDD is just, you know, the patience. It's like, I remember watching one year ago when they played the game 5 against, of course, T1, qualified to the World Championship. I remember what Perfect did on Camille, where he like E'd into and through the whole game. I remember what Beryl did too in that series to try to prevent BDD from making it to the World Championship. Like, I even remember. I remember even in 23, you know, when the whole meme was KT pick T1. It's like BDD was playing so much better than Faker in that series.
Don't they, bro? They always act like all 5 players played worse. Mate, BDD was Elo held in that one, wasn't he? He was
straight Elo held. Like, this was back when Keen and aiming just didn't do any movement at all in playoffs, which is still true for aiming. But Keen is, you know, he just needed to win the one, you know, and then he's chilling. It's like BDD has basically extended his hand to his teammates for 3 years straight. And there was never a point in time where you were like, oh, BDD is skipping a beat or something. No, he was like, oh, these are my teammates. I'm going to try to win. And he just has like hardened his skill set more and more. he became a far more, let's say, just fully fledged player. I remember a story back in 21. So I was watching GenG versus C9 play, right? And GenG at that championships, like they beat C9, right? But I remember there was this particular thing where BDD as a player was the guy who would just lean into comfort, just play mages on stage. But I was so surprised because I scrimmed against BDD and I saw how much depth he has in terms of what he plays. Like I saw his LeBlanc, I saw all these champions, but on stage he would just never pick them. It was so strange because BDD was this person that when the pressure got higher and we got deeper into playoffs or he was at the World Championship, he would just revert back into playing majors and kind of taking the game out of his hand and just going with the flow more. And maybe it was a luxury of being with like very, very strong teammates that had a very clear game identity. If we think back to like 2018 Kingzone or so forth, but his entire story arc has just been so fun to watch as someone that is a BDD fan, because now it's like after 3 years of extending his hand, his teammates are actually like grabbing it and pulling him up sometimes. I think it's like if there's anyone that deserves, Perfect and Peter suddenly playing like the goats, it is PDD, because he's been just performing for such a long time. And I think in this tournament, I think if you want to like name someone that is like the best performer, like I think BDD is a front runner for sure.
I'd even say it this way. I think even if they lose the final, I don't think much of it will splash back on him, mate. I think he's played so awesome. By the way, people will even forget. Bear in mind, no one knew if the 4th seed from LCK gets into the tournament because you'd have to play it. It would end up being IG, but it could have been anyone's legend or a TES, right? There's a world where KT would have been in that spot. Most people thought they would be. Like, they weren't supposed to be top 3. So I already think what he's done in the last, like, month and a half is beyond legendary already. But, mate, here's what's nuts. With the way that KT played in the GenG series and what they did in that upper bracket of LCK Summer, even though on paper I agree with the betting odds, right now T1 is like a small favourite to win Worlds. They're like a 1.5 type odds, which is like that's a good one to bet on. And KT's like up in the 2 point something, they're the underdog as you'd expect. I have to say, we have to give them the due diligence from what we've seen. We have to discuss there's a world where KT can win this final. And if they do, by the way, this will be one of the best Worlds wins ever for an individual star player. Because if you look in history, I'm sorry, I don't predict in 5 years from now that Peter and fucking Perfect and Cars have like a whole resume of trophies. No, I think they probably wouldn't even be on this team, some of them. So I think in history, if BDD somehow wins this Worlds, it will look so fucking good when you go to the Gamepedia and you hit that show rosters button. Everyone else in history, I mean, the joke is, even the DRX one, bro, he still had fucking Beryl and Death. Those are names. Those are like, they might, like, yes, Beryl was a meme, but that's like a fucking real name that had been in Dam 1. Death was one of the legends of the game. That was like Zika was, yeah, sure, there's a couple of the odd names. It's King and Basic and PL Shake are the weird ones. But mate, this KT roster, I even look at it now and I'm like, how are they in the final? What? It doesn't even make sense. But we have to have this discussion. There's a world they could still win, right? Maybe they can do this to T1 as well.
I think that KT have solidified their identity like really, really well. I think they figured out the meta. I think that they were very early to do so, which I think is a massive, massive plus. I think BDD against Faker. It's like Faker's had a fantastic tournament. We were singing his praises before, but we still have BDD edging out just by pure like laning skills and laning power. The cool thing that KT has added now is that I just see Cuz and Peter working together so damn well in terms of how they like coordinate invades. Like Cuz has been insanely sharp at tracking jungle camps, and with a player that has had such a long career as Cuz, it's incredible. Like now we can talk about suddenly Cuz is in his prime. That is one player that you can unironically talk about that context in this particular tournament. Because it's interesting with him having such, let's say, longevity, always being at like, a top 3 jungler, but never like the guy to be the one. Maybe in one particular split where, he did super, super good, but never like a standout where he ever came up in conversations like, this is one of the greatest junglers ever. Like he was just a player that was good enough to always be there and always be there in the mix in my mind. when I think about it. So from KT's side, I think that they are very, very good at drafting compositions that are very strong in mid-game team fights around dragons. My main concern about T1 and the matchup itself is that I feel like T1, especially in the top esports series, really, really figured out how they want to play the game and how they want to approach the game. I think there's a lot of crossover in terms of which champions are important, because it's always the same. It's like when at the World Championship, when two teams reach the finals, usually like they figure out the same things about draft, like the Talia Prio, the Arzi being stronger over Oriana, and the approach towards the jungle champions. It's like you see the same things kind of happen at the same time. And I do think that draft-wise, these two teams are going to land in a place where they are going to be competitive against one another. So I don't think that KT necessarily have the edge there. But if someone asked me the question, it's like, who has played better so far this tournament? If you just look at the overall volume, I think that KT has played much better if we think back to T1 earlier on, and so forth. But in terms of T1's ramp up, they seem to just be better and better as the tournament progresses. And I think that part is what's scary. I think that KT defeated a GenG that was very mentally weak, and they're not going to have that ease here against T1. And I think based on like that experience alone, and T1 being capable of like holding up a resistance, I have to take a little bit of credit away from KT's win against GenG due to the nature of how GenG played. And I do think that T1 is never going to be the team that folds under that pressure. And if I'm then trying to visualize a best of 5 that is settled at the Drake team fights, it's hard to not lean into a T1 in that circumstance. But I do add that T1 has showcased that they are quite flawed at this tournament. But what's insane about T1 is that, as we mentioned before, they have the guts to be like, oh, we don't play this champion, but we're going to pick it anyway and just do our best and not be scared while doing so. And I think that's insanely powerful.
No, bearing in mind, outside of Worlds, Chovy's obviously had an awesome time against T1 for years and years. I think after Chovy, the other player that's played the best against Faker and T1 is BDD. I agree with you, even going back to those scuffed KT roster teams, or the ones where all they could do was be an upset merchant. Like, he was looking great the whole time, though, boys. Like, it was never him. It was like the jungler, or who's the top laner. Like, these are the questions we had in the past. So, no, I actually think that's an exciting prospect. Like, this might be the first final I've ever seen where, look, I guess you could technically say it last year with Knight, where it's like, I actually think the other mid laner could look at this and go, I could beat Faker. Like, this is doable, mate. Like, I'm not like some big underdog. Yeah, we have to get a team effort and everyone has to play well, but like, I could actually win this matchup, because again, this isn't the 2010s. Faker isn't like up here and everyone else down here. Like, he's actually like a comparable player. And if I'm BDD, all I do is I think the same thing I thought the whole tournament, mate. Look, I can't know what the rest of them are going to do. So I just have to go in, play fucking mid lane, do what I can in the team fights. And if the others join me and Docdam gives me a couple of games that he's fucking smurfing on the right champion, if I get the right COS game where he just matches fucking order, then maybe it's possible. I will say, though, I'm going to favour T1 for this one. I think, like, in fact, I actually think it's very likely they can even 3-0, 3-1. Like, I would just assume they will win comfortably. Part of the reason why as well is, yeah, it's only really the GenG series that's given us all this massive hope for KT. The problem is a lot of the clean wins elsewhere, it's because they just got the right opponents. Like, they didn't have, but both teams, actually, I agree, both teams are flawed that are in the finals right now. Like, that's why all the betting money right up until they lost was going on GenG from every stage of the tournament. I can tell you, like, they've had some of the lowest odds I've ever seen from any team in the tournament. Bearing in mind, they haven't won. Chovy's never won before. It's not like people are going off history. They were going off current form, and they were the best. So I think right now, I do still think you'll have to pick T1, because the difference is, like, I mean, the obvious angle for the whole Peter thing is like, listen, Peter, you had a great tournament so far. Kerry is too good, mate. He's just too good. Like, I just don't believe you're going to beat him in 5 games. 3 games out of 5, are you going to get the bet? You're not. Come on, mate. You're not. Also, I think in general, the bot lane T1's just going to be way better. That's why, for me, if you're BDD, mate, if you win, this is beyond legendary. This is like when Dirk Nowitzki won against the fucking Heat super team, mate. It's not supposed to happen. So if you can do it, I'll just salute you. You're beyond legendary. But I think it's too much to ask. I don't think you really can win this one. It's too much.
That would be nice. I'm trying to like evaluate, where my heart lies, and I just want, I like if Score and BDD win a championship with the tools
cool.
and the pieces that they have, that would be beyond legendary. I'm with you. It would be absolutely.
And if there's ever two
insane.
guys wanted revenge on fucking T1, it's them.
Yeah. And the Orc too.
Yeah.
Oh man, it would be insane for sure.
The only thing is though, Yamato, fucking hell. Here's the thing, we're legit, so we're gonna do this, mate. Right now, I could just do Copium and go, hey, wouldn't it be funny if KT wins though? Lol, that'd be hilarious. Then they wouldn't. You know what, Yamato? I'm gonna have to say the sentence out loud that I haven't had to say the whole year. Bro, T1's probably gonna win Worlds again.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to get 6 of them things, motherfucker. Here's the difference. I agree with you. Bro, he's actually played so awesome this world. I think it'd be awesome if he gets the ring this time. What pissed me off about the last 2 is he wasn't the best player on his team, and then he would get voted like player of the year in esports. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's so whack. Here's the difference. Look, he shouldn't win player of the year this year. That also would be stupid. But I'll tell you what, if you want him to be player of the tournament, I think he is. I think he is. I think it's between him and BDD. And the difference is, I'd actually argue he's probably played slightly better opposition than BDD so far. So I might even edge it to fake. I don't know. Again, remember, MVP isn't the same as like best player necessarily. So no, like actually, the difference is, I wouldn't hate this one for the faking out. This one was like some fucking roll back the years flashback tournament where again you wouldn't believe this guy was. How old is he now? Like 26 or something? 28? What is he? Let me have a look. How old is Faker?
27
28 years old, maybe. And wait for it to load. He's 29 years old, actually.
Oh, damn.
Mate,
all right.
This might be the best tournament ever played by a 29-year-old in League of Legends.
Yeah.
Really fucking good. Like, yeah. If he played like this the last year, we wouldn't be having the same conversation. I think he's been mega this year. So I've got to say, T1's going to win the final. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like it's at this point, like probably just like written in the stone, you know, but it's just the magic of the event, you know. I hate to say it like that, but it's an easy way to summarize the like dealing with the, of course, the week where maybe you don't have anyone to scrim. That's a very unique circumstance to be in, where like we've heard a story from G2, right? As they prepare for the finals, they scrimmed against this this pickup team that just confused the shit out of them. Like that prep against FPX was so goofy, where they ended up picking Pyke mid lane against Nautilus Lee Sin. It's like, where the hell did you end up? And T1 has been there now, you know. It's not that they've, you know, won 5 championships. It's like they've been in so many world finals. It's like this is what, their 8th, which is crazy to think about. It's like they've lost 2. Like Faker's lost 2 and won 5, and now he's playing his 8th, which is a crazy number. So like that week of prep is very, very unique. That is incomparable to anything else. And navigating that is tricky. And T1 seem to be ramping up as the tournament goes. That it only seems natural. But I have to say, I didn't think, just to do the whole spice thing, I did think that T1 was a way bigger favorite heading into the DRX match than they are into this one. KT has like showcased like some good quality gameplay, and they have a very clear identity that if you play in their pocket, they can take games off of you for sure, and maybe cause an upset win.
By the way, I'll also throw this out there too, which is, fuck, where was I going with this angle? Threw me off for that thing at the end there. It's all good. We'll get it back. We'll rewind it.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I going with this? Oh, wait, it would be about T1 winning. Let me think. What was the angle then? I can't remember what it was now. What would it be about then? T1 winning. Oh, that was it. I know where it is. Right. Have you ever heard in Counter-Strike the saying NIP magic? Have you ever heard that in CS?
Yeah.
A lot of people won't know this. I actually invented that term. That's one of the ones I coined on the board. Yeah. Like what happens is if you're successful, obviously memes just get out of control, then everyone uses it. It's a bit like, by the way, are you ready? A lot of you won't know this. You know, you're all saying on the broadcast, don't get excited about KT. That's literally Monty's meme from like 10 years ago and more in the LCK. Like that was a Monty meme. That was his thing. He'd said himself many times, I'm going to get excited about T1. And then famously people would tell him don't. And then famously he had that one time a couple of years later where he went, I will get excited about T, and he doubled down and it became a thing, right? So similarly, I'll tell you the history. What happened was, think about how this parallel is going to play out here. In CSGO, NIP's core was in the first 5 major finals. Now, they only won one of them, but they were in every time there was a major, a bit like Worlds, they would always just make it to the final. Even though, by the way, it was only out of those 5, like the first, say, 3 where they should have been in the final. Like that was where they were, like a top 2, top 3 team. After that, though, NIP actually, think about how familiar this sounds, was more like, say, the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best team for the next couple of years. But they would still, every now and then, every like 6 months, they'd have one tournament where they'd just suddenly do NIP magic. They'd win like a game they're not supposed to win, or they'd beat an opponent that's been beating them elsewhere, and they'd do the clutch play, the big hero play. They'd win in the most epic fashion, and they'd win a tournament. And as I used to say, it's NIP magic. Because what I was trying to make the point of is there's no analysis for that. There's no like way to predict that's going to happen. There's no, unfortunately, unless you believe in some sort of spirit realm, there's no even way I can unpack as to what's going on. Because in the game, in a normal setting, that wouldn't happen. But when the pressure was there, when the opponent knew, shit, it's an IP magic time, it's like these things just happen. They would just manifest over and over again. So similarly, I think we need a term like that in League. So if we have NIP magic is in CS, we need something like T1 sorcery, bro, because this is some shit where it's like it only shows up at Worlds. Like even when T1 clutches at like MSI, they just do like a good play in a game 5. They win some of them, they lose some of them. They haven't won a lot of those times. In LCK, you know what? Yeah, there are many times where maybe Hanwha looks better than them or this, but they overcome them in a big game and they make a big play. But here's the difference. What they do at Worlds is sorcery, Yamato, because I want to remind you, even at this Worlds, bro, before the playoffs, the champion pools for T1 looked fucked. Bro, they had some like enormous holes in fairness. Remember, this is the Worlds they went 2-2 game. They had to go to the very end. And then, by the way, even then get like a nice draw. Not some killer team that can crush you. They got like a team that's actually, okay, phew, we're going to get out of this one. It's fine. It's all good. MCOY, that's just what the doctor ordered for this one, mate. There's a world where who knows if they draw someone else there, what happens? You look at their champion pools, it was never... The real miracle they do here is like, you know, the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Do you know this classic story? You never heard this one? Maybe it's more of a German one. It's a story of a guy where he's like a sort of leprechaun-esque figure. And what he can do is he knows the magic of how you take hair and you can turn it into gold. He can take that's what T1 does with the fucking meta at these Worlds, bro. This is why I actually think for real. Here's the real reason I think T1 fans don't want double elim. Because in double elim, you can't get away with it twice against the same opponent. If you play them again, they'll know already what your adaptation is in the draft. They can practice. By the way, even on the other side, they get a few extra scrim games against you because you play them later. I think that's the most amazing thing they do. I don't know. It's different coaches every year as well, Yamato. So some of it has to be Faker and the people who stay in the team. Something about how they conceive of the champion pools that they're going to play, specifically in the playoffs. Because every year it's the playoffs, you notice they never look this good in Swiss. Something about what they do going into a series is so impressive. Because actually, I didn't see that all this year. This year, mate, I was scared every time they got to game 5. They had some ropey fucking drafts. They had some bad plays. At Worlds, though, this is what they've mastered these 3-4 years. There's just something about how they think of the playoffs that's different from all the other teams.
Oh, it's like looking back at it, it was always like some pivotal moment of like a loss that just made them take such a big gut call in terms of the direction of the meta. As like the courage and the boldness. I wonder if it all just stems from the lesson of losing to DRX and how that has shaped them, because it's a very unique circumstance. There's always like those weird conversations about which rosters are the best ones of all time, and people say, well, T1, they won so many worlds. It's like, yeah, but there's no other team that stayed together. It's like EDG stuck together, maybe, like that's the only one, but which other team stuck together? No other team stuck together for this long and maintained a core for this long. Sure, they swapped out Doran for Zeus, but the collective experience of this group and them being like them staying together for this like period of time, this is unheard of. So it's like their collective experience. It's like I bet these guys just know each other better than anyone else. They know exactly what to say, what to do in order to get the other person to like pop off completely. It's like even in that Dr. Mundo thing, it's like his teammates could gaslit him to picking this
Yeah.
Dr. Mundo, you know. So it's like
Yeah.
they know each other, and it's fun because I imagine that they stuck together for the incentives outside of what is the actual gameplay. Because I can imagine at times, like, people don't want to think about it, but at times probably they were sick and tired of each other. They were sick and tired of the pressure and sick and tired of the workflow, and they stuck together because of the benefits of the fandom and the money and so forth. And the fact that that has created this team to stick together for that long has created something that is incomparable to anything else. Because people talk about GenG and how they choke every year, but this roster has changed every damn year too. And every other roster does too. Even Billy, the team that we were supposed to have this great rivalry. Billy changed jungle 82 times. So it's like I think that is also something that really adds to this idea of magic, because no other team has stuck together for this long. Like, the broadcast were saying FlyQuest have stuck together for the longest time, and it's like half a year. That's it. That's what they're bragging about. And I think that's a big part of where we're at as well with T1.
No, I'm with you. I'll give you another Counter-Strike comparison. That's why when that famous Polish Virtus Pro lineup in CSGO was together for like 5+ years or something, I always used to say it wasn't even that they were the best at the end, by the way. Like, every other team would have made a roster move. But because they kept the same 5-man lineup, for years, they were known as the hardest team to beat, though. Because even though you could beat them, because they had this crazy understanding of literally how all the other people are thinking, it meant, like, if you ever listen to their comms, Martin, they didn't even have to speak. They just knew, like, right, here's sort of like how I back you up, and here's how. And it just meant that, like, it was so, like, you could beat them, but you had to actually beat them. They would never concede the game, bro. Like, they would just go down fighting. And I know what you mean. This is the benefit of keeping the same roster together. Look, on paper, you actually probably should, as a GM, sign Viper of Gumayushi and Tarzan over fucking Order and Pastures. You know, there's certain moves you probably should gamble on, but this is the upside of if you can make it work, though. Although the obvious thing to say still, and I don't think it's a problem anyone can escape, is I know on paper the ultimate goal to win is Worlds, but you can't only win Worlds. People might think I'm trolling when I say that. No, like, if your team is good enough to win Worlds, then in theory, they are good enough to win everything. So you also do. I know it sounds silly because the ultimate goal is Worlds, but that's not the only goal. You still want to win an MSI. You want, by the way, you definitely want to win some LCKs. It looks stupid as fuck that, like, Chovy and fucking Zeke just win all of those for the last few years. Like, you got to get some of those again. So even so, though, like, this is why you keep this core together if you can. Like, you might change one play. Maybe you do change Thorin. That was the obvious one in it, but the rest of the roster, you probably do try and keep it together. Like, at a bare minimum, you never break up Owner, Faker, and Carrier. Like that, those three players together, they even look like, even if Faker has a down year or one of them has a down, they could carry each other, mate. Like, that chemistry they have. There's another thing. It's a point that actually Sabatine often makes, because he's a big Owner fan. Bro, I think this might be the best year ever for fucking Owner and Faker playing together too. Those guys are just, that is a fucking mind meld right there. They think the same exact way, mate. Like, they're just, that's why they can gaslight this motherfucker into playing Mundo. It's like, look, Will's pissed. We'll tell you what to do. Just go in. They can trust each other. I would never do that, by the way. If I'm fucking jungle, I'd be like, I'm going to get blamed if we lose this thing. I'll have to say, Sejuani, what are we doing?
No, definitely. It's just, yeah, this year was very special for Owner, because I do think that this team merged into a very jungle support synergy team. Like, I was saying that the whole damn year, and like the addition of Mata seemed to have just revamped how they play together with Super and jungle. And looking at Mata's track record, he's been involved in some of the best jungle super duos of all time. Like, I'm going out on a whim, but I do believe that he did help with the Light and Peanut at that point in time. And obviously, Mata and Dandy is goated in itself in terms of how obviously how they just revamped the whole game. And now with these two, I do think that Owner always lacked that idea of understanding how to support his teammates and solo laners in order for them to, of course, be safe on side and to play on side, which forced T1 to play this style with Zeus and Faker, which would just be isolated and try to buy as much time as possible. But now Owner is just so complete as a jungler. He's no longer just the mechanical, flashy, clutch guy. He's a very, very complete. And between him and Tarzan, I think you can give a fair shake to both. I think Tarzan was just so damn good and didn't have like a single period in the year where he was bad. Well, Owner had like a couple of drop-offs, but Owner is definitely in the conversation together with Tarzan, just like the best performing jungler of the year. And I agree that this is just like the best year for Owner for sure. And I think the people that are going to argue against that, they're always going to focus on like, yeah, but what he did on Rel in this one game was so amazing. We're looking at volume. We're looking at volume and the 200 League of Legends games he played this year. And that matters to us super, super much. Call us crazy.
And they got a good deal with Owner. Presumably, it's implied like they got a reasonable contract. They didn't have to spend some outrageous amount. That's what actually League and life is about, guys. It's not about like what if I had an unlimited amount of money and I could buy the most expensive thing. It's about efficiency. So in League, it's about items with gold efficiency. Don't lose to the shop. Well, speaking of not losing to the shop, why not get yourself the gold efficient, wonderful Raycon Everyday Earbuds Classic? Because obviously, this is a good min-max, isn't it? They've got a nice cheap price point, but then for that level, they've got a good amount of quality and build to it, etc. So one of the best things about this classic is, first of all, they are super popular. By the way, this message is sponsored by Raycon, obviously. But they have the wonderful open earbuds that sit in your ears while delivering the crystal clear sound. They go just outside your canal, so it's not they're going too far deep in, etc. But as a result, you can still easily listen to things that are around you. It's not like it blocks 100% out. Makes it impossible to hear like car coming near you, etc. Don't worry about any of that. They also are really lightweight and comfortable, which is really nice. They have the whole like multiple angular hook thing, which means that it stays secure and stuck in your ear, doesn't fall out easily. They have multi-point connection. You can connect multiple devices and switch seamlessly without hassle. You get 36 hours of battery life. 8-hour earbuds plus the 36-hour case. That means you get days and days of listening non-stop if you want to do that. You don't have to keep stopping. So if you're doing like a long-haul flight anywhere, unless you're really going around the world multiple bunch of times, you're going to be fine. It's going to have you covered, and it's really easy to do the quick charge as well. So Black Friday is around the corner. Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide, from everyday essentials to the latest releases. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. Christmas coming up, Thanksgiving, all that jazz, depending on where you are in the world. These early deals won't last for long. Shop now before they're gone. Go to buyraycon.com/LFN open, all one word, to save on Raycon audio products site-wide, up to 30% off. Thank you to Raycon. Thank you to everyone listening to this on Raycons or in the future. How about we do a little break, do a bit of Q&A, and then we're done?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's do it, Thorin.
Right, it is the last section of the show, which is, of course, viewer questions. If you'd like to submit a question, you could still technically do it now if you're really quick. What you do is you subscribe to the Last Free Nation Discord, and then there is a channel called SI Questions, basically. You put your question there. If you don't want us to read your username out, go ahead and say that. And I will now pick some of those questions. So let me just see. Just going to find a good one here. All right, okay. Nadnerb says, do you think GenG should keep this same roster going into next year? Bearing in mind, Keen, Chovy, and Ruler are still under contract for next year. So should they keep this exact same 5-man roster? What do you think?
I would say, yeah. I think that in terms of upgrades, it's like at this point, like, what are we talking about? It's like, what are we talking about? We're talking upgrades when we think about this roster. Maybe internally you have more information as to why Canyon is underperforming, or maybe you see a potential piece that could do better. But like most changes would be side grades. It's like, I think Keen you don't touch for sure. Chovy and Ruler, it goes without saying. It's like, if GenG went inside BDD, like that wouldn't make no sense. Like, even if they lost the BO5, that would be like, I would be like, Arnold, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're just trolling. Like, this is not what you're looking for, in terms of what the solution would be. I don't know, like, if there's a world where the Anyone's Legend, Core and Kael and Tarzan would want to make like a move or something, but I think you're at the point in time where if you run back the same roster, I think it should be fine. You're still the most dominant team the entire year, and that's like 95% of the time. Let's say 90, and I think that's something to be very, very happy about. I feel like this is something that is solvable. At the end of the day, it's like your team underperformed one crucial day, and I think making changes would be crazy. But I reserve my judgment because at the same time I understand that they deal with more information, and if they move on from a player like Canyon or Duro, then probably they have like decent reasons that stretch beyond just like, oh, we underperformed at Worlds here against KT.
Yeah, here's the thing. The only two positions, in my opinion, you could even think of are jungle and support. And funnily enough, as you say, actually, anyone's edge of jungle and support would be a very interesting move. Like, KL's one of the only players, like, because the other angle for KL would be maybe Ruler requests it. Maybe he would rather play with that guy than this. That could be one angle. I just think Tarzan is just better than Canyon right now. I wouldn't even hate that move. He's also played with Chovy in the past. I think it'll be an interesting mill to make. But it's weird. I don't think they should. I would actually just keep this 5-man roster. I think it was so fucking good. I'm not trolling. The only thing I would do is I would say everything's awesome, but we just need to drill down further. Not like there's a solution, but we just need to drill down into some of these performance issues. What does happen to us at Worlds? What's going wrong? What's different about this match than all those other matches that are big pressure games in LCK and in the MSI finals and game 5s? And so I think everything else about this roster could win like the next 3 Worlds, maybe, if you keep this one together. It looks really good. Canyon's the only person I thought underperformed, and even then, he's such a great player. He could have a bounce back year and have his best year next year. That's who he is. He's got fucking mad skills. So I wouldn't hate it, but no, I don't necessarily mind that one. Cram Sice says, first ever question for me. You don't need to put that part. No one gives a fuck, mate. Can or should, it'll be the last ever question if you ever waste my motherfucking time like that again. Can or should Chovy stop doing hype promos for Worlds? When he'll finally have World's title, he could do a bit. I didn't really. You respond to that. I think he's trying to communicate. Okay, go ahead.
Oh man, no, I think it just kind of comes back to the same thing. It's like when we are making our predictions and it's based off of data, and when you try to sell a narrative, it's like from the perspective of what's to come. It's kind of like a TV show or a movie. It's trying to create a build-up and trying to pull your imagination into what could be. It makes it more dramatic, and I think that Chovy is in a position where he gets to sell that, because it's like throughout the entire year, it's like, it's not only like that me and Thorin is saying that Chovy is the best player in the world throughout the entire year. Every mid laner in the world says it too. It's like these guys are also saying it. When I play against Chovy, it was really, really damn difficult. And this is super, super like he's insane. Like, who do I learn from? Chovy. Your favorite mid laner is Chovy too. And obviously, everyone has great respect for Faker because he's the GOAT of the game and has clutched up so many damn moments. But like, we need to, let it make sense. Like, we shouldn't silence Chovy until he wins the World Championship. Doesn't make any sense. Come on now. We need to. The next time he strolls up to Worlds after dominating the whole year, we should be saying the same thing. We should be saying he's been dominated the entire time. Is this the one where he finally makes it? On paper, he's better than everybody, but he has his lingering shadow over himself. And if he says that in that moment, he says, this time, everything is different, I'm going to be hyped as fuck. I don't care.
No, first of all, I'll go in reverse order. The idea he should stop doing promos because he hasn't won Worlds yet is fucking, that's one of the most dog shit ideas I've ever heard of. Because the implication you're putting into that is that the reason he's not winning the matches is because he did a feature promo. Like, no, shut the fuck up, you idiot. That's not how it works. Like, that's some weird superstition you've got of like, oh, he should lock himself in an isolation tank and only play memories of good matches he won, and then he'll win. No, you fucking idiot. He'll still be scared on stage if he's scared on stage, mate. Like, that's why I say that it's not even something you can just necessarily fix like that. You've got to drill down and try and find things like, what feelings do you get before you have the choke reaction? What did you think in a game that you went into that you clutched that you didn't think? These are the things you'd examine, environmental aspects, things about, maybe it could even be as simple as something, by the way, like, maybe because you have pressure, you don't get sleep the night before the match. That could be something. Maybe that doesn't happen to you during the regular season. Who fucking knows? So Because one thing people do forget is you do spend most of the rest of the year just in your home region for the Worlds. You're traveling, you're on the road. In fact, for some of them now, so even back in the day, you went to one city. Now you travel between cities. You go to Shanghai, Beijing. You keep moving around, don't you? So who knows what it could be? No, I also think that's just pathetic, by the way. Like, that would be like saying in the UFC, you should never cut a promo until you've become the champion because you might just look stupid. What if you say that you're going to knock out the champion, then he knocks you out? That's literally a good thing for media in the sport. You are aware of that, right? Like, it's actually a really good... You know what? I'll give you an example from MMA, from the world that I know you're into, right? You know Alex Pereira?
Yeah.
Everyone loves to make fun of Jamal Hill for thinking he'd beat Alex Pereira. Bro, you wanted to think that. It would fucking suck if he'd just gone, actually, he's better than me, and I've never been a champion. So, yeah, you're right. In fact, I'll probably get knocked the fuck out. I hope I can have a good fight. That would be whack. What sells that fight is you can tell that guy believed he was going to win that fight, mate. He didn't. He got knocked the fuck out. But it's way cooler that he had the balls to go on record and say that he thought he would win and that maybe even like Pereira doesn't have power in his hand. That's fucking dope. So no, I want Chovy to do more of these. Like, I don't even think this is one area I have a disagreement with fans. Fans didn't like that in those Riot features, they portrayed Chovy as the final boss more than Faker. But that's because what they were trying to show is that Chovy is considered, like you said, the consensus best player. Everyone I know who's an expert, not just people who don't like T1 for fuck's sake. Everyone says he's the best. It's actually why him choking. Put it this way, this isn't even a joke when I say this out loud. Chovy choking at Worlds has been a bigger story than Faker winning Worlds the last few years. That's just real. Like, it is. Like, everyone's obsessed with the idea. Why did he choke? Because he's so good every moment except Worlds. Like, it's actually more of a mystery. Whereas actually, I've seen Faker win a bunch of clutch fucking series and nick a trophy and nick a world. I've seen him do it before. That's not as surprising to me. So I think, no, I agree. I disagree with this take completely. I think Chovy should keep doing everything he's doing now. And obviously, hopefully one day he will win. And that will make it even cooler that he did the promos and all that jazz, won't it? So I don't even mind that aspect. I think it's a whatever question. Whatever. There you go. There was your first time asking. Did you enjoy that? Or did you get your fucking arse wrecked? Exactly. Sit the fuck down and let the other people ask questions. The good ones. Or step your fucking game up. See, now you know what Chovy feels like. You've always thought, I'd ask a great question. That's dumb. Then you had your moment, and then we were like, yeah, fuck up my face with that shit ass question. Right, okay.
Guys, please subscribe to the Last Free Nation to ask questions.
Of course.
Please support the channel, guys.
Right, here we go. Are you ready for the cursed questions? Because you know they're always coming, you Barto. So
right.
listen. Nixon says, GenG is the team of the year so far. But now that KT beat them in 2 BO5s, are they the new team of the year and a beginning of a new telecom dynasty with Peter at the helm of it? Get me the fuck out for.
Peter at the helm as well. He put him at the helm.
I know. He's the Captain Jack Sparrow of this ship. Come on.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's I guess it's like if you beat them once, you absorb all their accolades. It's like they're transferring the MSI trophy, the LCK trophy. They're also transferring the record to KT, the 29-1. They just absorb their wins. It's kind of like when you play Mario Party and like you Goomba stomp on somebody, you get all their stars and their gold. That's basically how competition works. So I'm with him. I'm excited for a Peter Ran dynasty. Yeah. Good question. How about you, Thorin?
What about put it this way, like that meme is, I said it earlier, I think even if they win Worlds, he might get replaced. I'm not even trolling, because the problem is, KT is an org that has money. I told people before, I actually like the way KT does it, by the way. What they do is, if they know it's going to be a down year, then you don't buy like 3 awesome players and then just come 8th. You go, right, fuck it, I'll cut back, I'll sign some players that are just all right, which is what they did the last couple of years. In the off season, the rumor went if they'd have gotten Pace, they would have gotten Ham on all the rest of the positions. Like they probably then maybe they would have gotten a different top laner, or they would have swapped out the. I think if you're KT, if anything, this just shows that like you keep 2 or 3 of the players and then you rebuild. You know. By the way, maybe Peter can be one of them. Yeah, put it this way, I'd much rather keep Peter than keep Doctor, for example. Like I'm sorry, I still don't believe it. I watched it all with my own fucking bare eyes, and I still don't believe he did some of these series. So I'm sorry, I would ship that guy out tomorrow if I could get, you know, fucking either Pays or fucking I could get Viper or something. If I can get any of these players, mate, send them over. I've always said this, I think the most underrated angle ever, Yamato, is people don't really think that T1 ever will change players. Mate, if T1 ever changed players, maybe I'll take Gumayushi. You know what I mean? Their players will be available too. Maybe Gumayushi can play with fucking Peter, and that could be a cool bottle. Who knows? I know it sounds silly now, but you never know with where people, especially because Koreans, that if there's anyone could have a level up from a year, it's a fucking Korean player in the jungler support position. We've had that many times over, so I wouldn't hate it. I just don't think it's plausible. He did it as a meme, obviously. It was just a meme. It's all good. It's just a meme. Right, here's a question for you. Private says, how have you dealt with burnout over such long careers? Do you have a secret?
I think, like, basically, in terms of how the season is structured, there hasn't been a world championship where I didn't experience like heavy burnout after the fact. But the strange thing is that I wouldn't really have it any other way, because it's like if you are competing throughout the entire year, and historically it's like what we did back in like 2018, 2016, which is not so common now, is that we would have like a month boot camp before the World Championship right after summer finals. Now the scheduling has changed a lot, and everything is a lot more condensed, and the breaks are spaced out. That it's a little bit different now, but it's like Vitality 2018. We went on basically a month boot camp before we played the World Championship. Same thing with Splice. It's like we went to the finals and then we just flew to Korea. And now it's like there's less funds, less time to do so. So the level of intensity is a little bit different, but at the same time, quite harsh. And I think the only thing that you learn over time, what I've realized is that it's like I've tried to push myself past the point where it's reasonable. And there were times where I went over the edge, like, for example, 2015 in Rocket, where I basically was like sleeping 3 hours a day. And what I was doing, like to keep up, I was just smoking a shit ton of cigarettes, just smoking all the time, and just like really, really driving myself insane. But obviously that was something that was unsustainable. But in that process of like going too far, I also realized what my signs were when I needed to, you know, take a little bit of a break for the purpose of performing better. And that's like a balancing act that you realize at some point in time, especially in competition, is that if you're resting, you're doing it only to perform. That's like the only purpose. It's like your purpose in everything that you do is to perform better. And I think it's just a question of learning more and more about yourself. But as I mentioned before, there's never been like post the World Championship where like I saw those signs coming and I took the decision of just like pushing through and going harder because at the end of the year, it's like you kind of feel a sense of pride in the fact that you gave it 110%. I think like if I would give advice to anybody, is that if someone is young, I would give the advice to like push yourself and see how far you can go with your level of intensity, because you learn so much about yourself. And then when you begin to map that out, like the best competitors, the best players, they are the ones that know I need to take these actions to get back into form. It's not that like a player like Caps is always like the best player. It's that he knows how to ramp up and how to space out, of course, his practice and level of play. And that's extremely unique to everybody. And I think this is something you can apply to any walk in life where you want to find a higher level of performance. But obviously, doing that doesn't mean that this is not a healthy approach. But that's a part of wanting to be the best at anything, really.
Ready for a classic Thorin segment? Because I could do what you did there. I could try and relate to the viewer and go, we're all mere humans. You know, do we not bleed when you... No, you know what? I'm just built different. How about that, motherfucker? You know what? I've been waiting for people to get on my level for years. People come along as interviewers. The joke is I don't even have to beat them. I just wait 3 years. They're all gone. Ashley Kang was on a fucking beach for 6 months this year, doing nothing, 0 interviews, nothing uploaded. Don Jake talks about all his interviews. It's like he talks nostalgically, like he's a 20-year veteran about stuff he did last year. It's like, do something now, motherfucker. Pull your finger out of your ass. Stop tweeting and fucking press record on the fucking camera. Don't tell me what you would do and how awesome it would be if you did. I'm doing it right now, bitch, made motherfucker. Are you aware of that? Like, your homie's still on that grind now. Fucking Avon Bark still running the game. You can't touch me. I don't even touch the fucking product. Stringer Bell sets all that up. That's Monty. Monty's my Stringer Bell. You'll never fucking put me in prison, homie. They'll all turn states up, whatever. Anyway, that just going too far. Anyway, the point is, I just never have had this problem, bro. Like, I actually think I'm one of those people where I have like the weaponized autism, bro. Everyone else is like, oh, the chaos of too much information. I'm just fucking sat there like passing it all, reading the Matrix. I love it, mate. I love being on Twitter, seeing a million tweets coming in. I told you, when I did that thing I broke down for you off the top of my head, that whole drama with that Irene woman, mate, my brain just puts this information in together. It's not chaotic to me. I can somehow I can figure out what the signal part of the thing is and what the noise is, and I can separate them, and I don't find it that bad. But I am slightly human. You know, I have some mild moments where I need a break. But I'll give you a piece of advice that can apply to anyone, which is, I think in the modern day, the reason people get burned out, there's 2 reasons. One is if you're doing work where you feel like it doesn't have like a real purpose to it. The work itself doesn't satisfy you. So an example as a player would be, you notice they very rarely get burned out when they're winning. When they're winning, they can keep going for years. But it's when like you lose the big final or you don't make it to Worlds in the last one. That's what burns you out. Because in that scenario, it's like, oh, it was all for nothing. That's the fucking feeling that sucks. And then the other thing is, I also feel like people don't actually give themselves proper breaks. I'll give you an example. I can't believe how many times I've seen broadcast talent say, oh, I'm a bit ill, so I'm going to have a break because I'm burned out. And all they do for the next week, Yamato, is stream themselves playing League every day and eat fast food. And it's like, oh, that's not even going to help you. Like, if you're actually burned out psychologically and physically, you should nourish your body. You should like take a week off, like the internet, mate. Go on a beach. You should go and have like a bunch of really healthy food. No, I'm talking about salads. I'm talking about like really, really awesomely cooked chicken and steaks and high-end food. And make sure there's no crap in your diet. Get all that out. Make yourself feel awesome. You're going to feel fucking... And when you come back after that week, mate, you're going to feel like, fuck, right. I'm ready to go again. I'm ready to get back on this, you know, because I'll tell you a little tip I would give people. And it's something I did a few years ago, and it has made my time off so much better, bro. I don't ever waste time in my time off, Yamato. When I waste time, like watch a YouTube short or just scan random shit, that's when I'm waiting for, you know, like 10 minutes before a show, or I'm waiting for something to load on a computer. I'm rendering something. That's when I'll waste time. If I actually have 3 hours off, I will intentionally on my calendar, look, right, I'm going to have 3 hours off. I'm going to plan already and get it all ready what movie I'm going to watch during that 3 hours. Or I'm going to plan that I'm going to turn off my computer and I'm going to put the lights on. I'm going to go and sit in my chair and I'm going to read a book for an hour. I'm going to read a chapter of this. So if you actually plan like that, because I think you can see where I'm going on this, watching a bunch of YouTube shorts and random content just feels like I'm just wasting time. Like, whatever, this is all right. 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10. If you sit down and actually watch like an awesome film or something you haven't got around to watching, for example, a film came out last year, you still didn't get around to it, but you give yourself time, you're going to really enjoy it. It's going to nourish you in a way that you don't get from just mindless entertainment. So I would say that's the advice I give, is make more out of your time off. Don't just use your time off like I'm pissing it away and because I think that also feels unsatisfying. I mean, isn't one thing that we all hate when you're someone who works hard? You feel like you never get to watch all the films you want to watch or read the latest book in that series. You know, years ago, you used to be right on the cutting edge of it. Now you'll miss like 2 albums from a band that you're into. Like, oh shit, I haven't been keeping up with them. So set aside some time and make sure you really enjoy it. I'll give you one last piece of advice. If you're ever going to have a night where you do go, fuck my diet, I'm just going to have a bunch of candies. Don't just get the ones from the supermarket. Go and buy your favorite candy. Buy some like really delicious luxury gourmet chocolate, or fucking, if you're going to get a soda, get your favorite soda in the world. Make it so to really, by the way, you know the real secret to all of this? This is actually what all Eastern religion is about. Like, if you ever ask people in like Zen Buddhism, what is the secret to life? They'll tell you, like, chop wood and fucking pour water and till the field and do your work. What they mean is just be present in the moment of what you're doing and fully experience it. It's why those tea ceremonies are so ornate. Doesn't make the tea taste better, but your experience of it will be, because you're really paying attention to the flavors and you've got no distractions and you're carefully pouring it for the person and thinking about what they're saying. That's what's going to make the experience epic. So there you go. There's a little Thorin classic rant for you. One last question, and then we will go. And this is the last question. I think this is a fun one, though. Franny Boy says, what unassuming player has a hidden brilliance in their gameplay that is often overlooked by others? So it's almost like a who's the most underrated player question here. Is there a player where people don't look at them and go, what a sick player, but there's a brilliance to something that they do that you think is overlooked? Who do you think's in this category?
Like, it's in the context of like worlds now, I do feel like Fearless makes things a lot more obvious than ever, because you have to like just play such a wide range. But I always have this problem in explaining how good supports are, and that is always like the most challenging one, I think, in terms of like community sentiment. Like obviously like everybody loves, like everyone knows that Mickey X is like really good at the game because he lanes well. But what I think separates him from all the other supports, and the only other support that had this quality was Hilly, because I guess Hilly is the easy example, because Hilly was so far ahead of his time in terms of how he played the game, where there was a certain period where everything shifted, where like back in 2020, 2021, I think like Hilly was easily in the conversation of being like one of the best supports in the world, and Mickey was in that box too. But it's just a question of risk assessment, because the community looks at a player like that and sees them like dying or getting caught. But in terms of the output that they do when they don't die, every time they don't die is also a risk taken. Another example is, for example, like Gumayushi is a great one here for T1. On mid waves, there's maybe once a game where Gumayushi dies on the mid wave and he looks like a fool. It happened in the Kaiser game against Koki and Nami. But if you look at that game and just see how many waves he steals on mid while acting as if he has 4 carriers behind him, it's like a question of having prio on 10 waves and dying on the 11th, or giving up 11 waves and not dying at all. I feel like that quality of risk assessment and understanding the cost-benefit analysis as if it's a hand of poker that you're playing, I think that's something that often gets overlooked by the community. And Gumyushi is an example on the mid-wave. I think that supports, I mentioned Hilly, is like Hilly is the type of player to like posture and to chin check the enemy. He did this ahead of the LPL supports. Now all of them do it, and all the junglers do it too, where they chin check you and like pressure you to squeeze information out of you. Hilly did this so far ahead of his time. Just go back and look at the video. I recommend this to anybody. There's a video where it's like 4 minutes of Hilly not listening to his teammates. And there's like moments in that where everyone's like, Hilly, we're not contesting that. And he's walking on them and he sees that the enemy is walking back. And that's a read that he's like forcing by just posturing forward. And I think usually that's where I find the biggest, let's say, friction in terms of like explaining how good this player is to the community. A support role, and I gave, I guess, three examples.
Right, I would actually say I'm going to take Flandre from anyone's legend because I don't think people appreciate. This is another guy who had 2 careers, mate. The first career was the one where he was stuck in the LPL. And if people don't know, he was the Chinese carry top laner. This guy was like comparable to people like my favorites, Flame, Smeb, like the guy, the Shy, he was a fucking beast. But the problem was he was the guy, funnily enough, people like Keen and Summit have been in this position themselves, where it's like they're elo held, like they're mega, but then their teammates aren't quite good enough and they just can't ever get the big results and the trophies. Then you look at this latter half of his career where he became the world champion and now he's been on teams that have become domestic champions and top tier. Bro, now he's like the weak side king. And I'll tell you the thing I find most impressive about his game is this amazing shit where he is able to Like, it's like because he used to himself be the carry, the top lane carry, he knows how to neutralize other top lane stars like no one I've ever seen, bro. Like, this is real. Like, look, we've, on a lesser level, we've all compared Impact and Odwamna. They're doing it in like NA and EU. This guy's doing it against the LPL and LCK. Like, I thought he played great in that fucking T1 series, mate. Like, the game 1, he was nuts in. And in game 5, he almost carried. Like, if Hope just steps up a little bit, Shanks a little bit, they would have won this game and he would have been the hero of it. Like, this guy has a fucking very, he must be so cerebrally sound now compared to, I would assume his hands were mega in the first part of his career. Bro, his brain is what's cracked in the laugh. He's just a really impressive player. And there really is a world where he could have won MSI or EWC or maybe Worlds now. Like, so I think actually he's probably underrated because again, you think of top laners, you just think of the carry. You think, if you say LPL top lane, I'm thinking of a J-Slocking, the Ambessa. It can still fuck around with those carries, but it's the what he does to the others that is nuts to me. It's what he does to a Bin, a fucking 360. The best players, mate. You're supposed to be there. I think that's mad underrated. There is something brilliant about his play. I'd love to have a teammate like that, mate. Right, that'll be it for now. Thank you to everyone who obviously did subscribe to the Nation Discord and ask a question. We'll be back for the next episode where we will obviously break down Worlds, and I've no doubt by then the off season will have ramped up even more. You'll have a few of the early signings. There'll probably be some jazz about next year. There's even one story we didn't get to, which is they did technically announce that like the teams are known for that next LEC thing. We'll save this because spoiler, this can be its own drama in the next episode. Carmine Corp is in the same competition as Carmine Corp Blue. Riot, fuck, please acknowledge what conflict of interest is. Don't make my whole career me just like conflict of interest, and then everyone like, what? Sorry, did he say something? I couldn't hear it. Some gobbly. No, fuck. Anyway, so we'll let that go to next episode. We can't do it this one. See you on the next episode of Somebody Inside.